The Senate will resume a marathon debate session on the Save America Act. So the White House is pushing to pass the legislation. There's more support building, and here's a headline from Fox Digital. GOP governors, AGs, back Trump Save Act push, warn system gives undue influence to states with illegal aliens. But senators are still split amongst party lines.
I don't think this is a hot take. Only American citizens should be voting in American elections.
We will not let this evil legislation pass. No Jim Crow 2.0. No Jim Crow 2.0.
We have a bill that's been entitled the Save America Act. But make no mistake, this is not about saving America. That is a fraud on the American people.
And Karl Rove, Fox News contributor, joins us now.
You know, I think I've stumbled onto something. Good morning. But I really think I've stumbled onto something and why this seems to be going the way it is. And I'm not just talking about the Democrats and everything they're doing, but I'm also talking about the Panicans, the Black Pillars, the Rhinos, everything associated with what you're watching, the Federal Reserve. Everything is about stopping Trump, which then leads me to believe it's the deep state, which then leads me to see clearly the picture in front of us, which is an internal color revolution. If you've never delved into, if you've never researched what a color revolution is, perhaps now might be the time for you to begin reading up on what a color revolution is, because we're living it. You're seeing the forces completely trying to surround this country, the forces that are completely trying to stop everything that they've built for 40 or 50 or 60 years from being, quote, obliterated. Younger people didn't live it. They don't know. They're being bamboozled. Jim Crow 2.0 when they don't even know what Jim Crow 1.0 was. They have no idea. These people don't read history. They don't know what a color revolution is. They can't recognize that they are swept up in one right now. Everything going on in Iran, everything going on here, you can reduce it to something very, very common, is that they can't have Donald Trump succeed. They can call us cucks. They can call us a cult. They can call us any name that they want. But when you, as I said the other day, when you ask them, what is it you want to see for America? They got nothing. They realize right now the entire impetus of everything they're doing has to slow down and stop this Trump train. And that Trump train includes the driver, and all of us on the train. They can't let this succeed. They can't let America be prosperous. They can't let America be dominant in the Western Hemisphere. It goes against everything they possibly want and how they've devised everything, which is stupid to me, because it would make them even more money, because make no doubt about it, it's about money, but it's mostly about power. These people have gotten drunk and high on, power fentanyl. They just want that power to tell you how you live your life. And Trump has come out as basically the complete antithesis of Barack Obama. If Barack Obama was their messiah, if Barack Obama was the person they constructed to be their messiah, Donald Trump is the complete opposite. He's making no bones about it. He's a strong man. He's doing everything to show prosperity. And it's very easy to prove me right. It's going to be very hard to prove me wrong. Anybody to prove me wrong. They'll scream, they'll call us names, but they can't prove us wrong. First and foremost, when's the last time you've heard any president, talk about Americans being prosperous? I'll wait. Nobody ever says it. When's the last time you've seen an American president that wanted to take a scalpel, or as Elon Musk said, a chainsaw to all this government fraud and abuse? Never happened. When's the last time you've seen a president since Monroe decide, hey, listen, this Monroe Doctrine thing seems pretty good. Why don't we just own the Western Hemisphere? When's the last time you heard that? Nope, you haven't. And you can go on and on and on of all these things that are happening where you can just say, when's the last time you've seen this? I haven't seen it before. When's the last time you've seen a president say, we're not going to have any illegals? Nope, haven't heard it before. Why haven't you heard it before? Why is it just now that we're hearing all this stuff that is completely different than anything we've ever heard in our lifetimes? I'm 65. I don't know how old you are, but everything I just mentioned, you can sit back and go, never heard it. Nope, nobody's ever said it. And if they did say it, nobody's ever done it and executed on it the way President Trump is doing. And so they know now they can't do anything. If the numbers are even slightly correct in terms of what the polling is, they're in deep, deep poo-poo. I mean, every single day, another poll keeps coming out. And I see this poll that came out just a little while ago. New poll finds Republican voters overwhelmingly support President Trump's Operation Epic Fury, 83% to 9%. What foreign policy do you trust more, Trump or Tucker Carlson and Megyn Kelly? 84 to 6%. Something is different that people can't put their finger on, but they don't like it because the greased pole of power is getting very hard to hold on to. You've seen people at carnivals and stuff try to climb a greased pole and they can't. They can't get a grip on it. Their grip is slipping. Their grip is slipping on you and me. The media, everybody. I love today, you're going to see it. Pete Hegseth called out the media directly to their faces. When's the last time you've seen that? You can probably go and recount many people who didn't want to say something, or I had to test the wind first to make sure it was going to be okay. This guy's not doing that. So now here's the bigger question that you have to begin asking yourself if you don't want to ask other people. If everything I just said, no other president has ever done, then how can you compare what he's doing to any other president? And you see people completely freak out. How can you foretell what's going to be coming in the midterms and beyond if you don't know what he's going to do tomorrow? If you can admit everything you've seen thus far is completely, not even close, it is completely different than we've ever seen before, then all your models, all your forecasting, everything can't possibly be right. You can't put it in that little machine and go, hey, compare it to Bush and Obama. You can't. And so now they know they're in deep poo-poo. I'm not going to swear as much anymore, I promise. They know it. And so all they can do is with Judge Boasberger and Jerome Powell and every possible way they can, let's just slow it down. Let's suppress the markets. Let people know that the gas prices are high and that silver and gold are crashing and they pulled out all the stops. They've gone into the magician hat and they're just pulling out stuff, hoping something's going to stick. But what stops that from sticking is intelligence. What stops that is, instead of listening to nut jobs, is to do your own research. Go look up what a color revolution is. I may do a show on it, sort of like I did with the Monroe Doctrine, and explain to you what a color revolution is. When you see it, you can't look away. You're like, this makes complete sense. I saw something today by our resident nut let me bring this up because I think it's really important to show it to you guys. Candace Owens, she posted, not only is Trump losing the war, he has also completely forfeited his legacy and his base. Hey, quick question. By all means, can you please tell us, all of us, just who exactly it is he's losing to? Every single news channel keeps showing you ghosts. Well, he's dead. He's dead. That whole line there, they're all dead. They're dead. They're dead. They're dead. Who are we losing to? A cardboard cutout? The mind games they are playing with people right now is evidence of the fact that they're on that greased pole and that they can't get off of it. Yesterday, in addition, another nut. Let me see if I can bring this up really quick. Where is it? So you guys can see it. You can see it pretty quickly. Oh, I'm almost there. This one. Saw this, and it was Megyn Kelly. You want to rip the GOP apart right to its core and prevent a single America First voter from participating in the midterms? Indict Joe Kent and Tucker Carlson. See how that works out. Huh? Nobody knows who Joe Kent is. Go into your restaurant and say, hey, anybody here know who Joe Kent is? And like I wrote here, someone is reading their own press clippings. They're not that important. They're really not. But yet people keep saying these things as though they are. They're not. Nobody knows who they are. How can we have these polls, whatever these polls out? How can they keep saying 85, 90, 100, 78? The numbers are such that they cannot possibly be true. I posted something I want to bring to you guys today. Back in English class when I was probably a freshman or sophomore in high school is when I first heard this. And it was amazing to me how many people hadn't heard this, think I was being some sort of loquacious, verbose soothsayer. But this poem, prose, is I think, very timely for today. If, which is the name of the poem, you can keep your head when all about you are losing theirs and blaming it on you. If you can trust yourself when all men doubt you, but make allowance for their doubting too. If you can wait and not be tired of waiting or being lied about, don't deal in lies, or being hated, don't give way to hating, and yet don't look too good nor talk too wise. If you can dream and not make dreams your master, if you can think and yet not make thoughts your aim, if you can meet with triumph and disaster and treat those two imposters just the same, if you can bear to hear the truth you've spoken, twisted by knaves to make a tap for fools, or watch the things you gave your life to be broken, and stoop and build them right back up with worn out tools. If you can make one heap of all your winnings and risk it on one turn of a pitch and a toss and lose and start again at your beginnings. That pretty much sounds like President Trump right there, doesn't it? And never breathe a word about your loss. Doesn't sound like President Trump there. If you can force your heart and nerve and sinew to serve you long after they are gone, and so hold on when there is nothing in you except the will which says to them, hold on. If you can talk with crowds and keep your virtue, or walk with kings nor lose their common touch, if neither foes nor loving friends can hurt you. That's very important. That's very important. If foes can't hurt you. If all men count with you, but none too much. If you can fill the unforgiving minute with 60 seconds worth of distance run, yours is the earth and everything that's in it. And which is more, you'll be a man, my son. That was the words of Rudyard Kipling, which many of us I'm going to go back to sophomore year in high school or something that came out. Rudyard Kipling is when I first was introduced to that. And that's what I think we're seeing right now. I really, truly feel that's what we are seeing. If you can step back and go, this is crazy. Don't lose your head about it. Don't lose your head in terms of what you're seeing in the financial markets. Don't lose your head with what you're seeing on Twitter/X. Don't lose your head. Take it all in and realize you got this. We got this. I know we got this. I know by their actions we got this. I told you something yesterday, that yesterday's fiasco of a hearing with Tulsi Gabbard, there was a common theme that kept running through what they were saying. And it happened again today, which tells me, projects to me that these people know what's coming. And I want to share it with you again. It happened in today's hearing. Because if you can keep your head about you and you understand this is specifically what they are worried about, because they know what's coming.
Did you or the IC make any assessments as to the timing of potential threats facing the United States from Iran in the last 90 days?
I'm sure there was timelines factored into the intelligence assessments that were delivered.
Did any of them show imminence?
The imminent nature of a threat is determined by the president based on a totality of the intelligence and information provided to him.
Did any of them?
All right, so here it comes again. Hey, was it really imminent? And she didn't fall for it. Once again, the president determines that. The president determines when there is an imminent threat. If the president determines that there's an imminent threat with the elections in 2026, the president is the sole determining factor. They're trying to bust that up, and it's not working. It's already known. He is the judge, not Bo Asperger, not Supreme Court. If the president deems there is an imminent threat to our national security, he can act. Sole discretion. Doesn't matter what his advisors and his cabinet think. The bottom line is, like any CEO, I'm listening to my division managers, I'm listening to the people in shipping, I'm listening to my marketing people, but at the end of the day, I make the call. And this has got them terrified. And if you keep listening, every time it comes up, you realize these people know what's coming. They can't keep their heads about them. They got to freak out. They're losing it.
Show that there were attacks anticipated within the next 90 days from Iran.
It's too simplistic of a statement to say that, because it depends on various scenarios occurring or not occurring.
Did those assessments show timelines for the threats that Iran posed to the United States?
The totality of threats, yes, there were timelines involved where it applied and where that information was available. But again, to your question about the determination of imminence, the president makes that determination based on the totality of information and intelligence.
The bottom line is there was no imminent threat, and you know that, and there's no product that shows that. I yield back.
He couldn't budge her. He couldn't get her to budge whatsoever, and it's freaking them out. You know that. No, I don't know that. I just told you my answer. You're not getting me to go and dance with you on this one. It's very clear. The boss is the determining person. So then you have to say, okay, so I heard it yesterday a few times. I've now heard it in today's House version of the same hearing. They're trying to, it's not about Iran. They don't like the fact that they now understand it is going to be used against them, and that this one man, the one man who I've been talking about for almost 2 years now, this one man has the determining factor of what is and isn't a threat. Not John Thune, not Mike Johnson, not Congress, not the Senate, not the judiciary. And they realize at this point, there's not a damn thing they can do about it. What we need to do as MAGA is to let other people know That's the message you need to get out there. The boss says it's a national security issue. End of story. Nothing to discuss. Don't need your opinion. You're not him. What you got? That's it. Whether you like it or not, whether you accept it or not, it doesn't matter. It's sort of like talking to your dad. Why am I doing this? Because I said so. And if you are like me, you had no response. And if you mouthed off, what'd you say? Nothing? Nothing. No. Because I said so. There's no appealing that. When you were a kid, there was no one to appeal. You couldn't go to mom, feeling, couldn't go to grandparents. Oh, hey, he said I said so. That's it. End of story. There's no further discussion. We lived our entire lives from the time we were little kids until the time we're adults, until they pass, walking into their house knowing if he says it, that's it. The only thing that changes as you get older is maybe you can leave and go to your own house, but it doesn't change the fact that dad said, that's it. That's how it is. He may listen to you as you get older. So son, right? What are you thinking about this? Okay, this is what we're going to do. Tell me I'm wrong. Tell me I'm wrong that when he said back when you were growing up, this is it. And if you had any place else to go, right now the Democrats realize President Trump is doing that. Right now the black pillars and the panicans, they understand it, and it's driving them crazy that they can't control this anymore. And who knows where it's going. Who knows where it's going? And I'm I just think we're going to see a lot of different stuff coming real soon. Let me tell you about one of those things that they are trying to control. And I had put up something. Let me see if I can find this real quick. I put up something early this morning. I want to bring it to your attention here. And where is it here? Yeah, this post here. And I put up. It says, what do these two pictures tell you? Real ones, no. And it's a picture of gold and silver and a picture of the guy from King and Queens. And it says King of Queens actor Kevin James upgrades and just bought a $17 million house mansion here in Boca Raton. $17 million, which isn't like a big time house. Their house is more expensive than that here. So why would somebody spend 17 million of their hard-earned dollars to go in and buy a mansion when gold and silver and oil and everything looks horrible? Because either he or someone who advises him says, you ain't gonna believe what's about to happen. You know, so if you bought some silver or some gold, don't freak out. And if you haven't, now's the time you are going to want to educate yourself, because I've said it for quite some time, and I'll say it again. In the next 90 days, I think I can say at this point 70 days, there's going to be some people making a crap load of money because they're educating themselves. You can see right now the deep state is throwing everything they can at the wall, everything to suppress the market, everything. They're saying we have a problem with oil. They're trying to suppress gold and silver. They're doing profit taking in the stock market. Smart people are buying the $17 million mansion. Now, I don't expect you're going to buy a $17 million mansion, but you can make the same kind of moves if you know what's coming. That's the whole thing. Understanding that right now they're in their, as I would say, agonal breathing days. The days of excessive money printing, overvalued markets, and global unrest are finally catching up to the globalist elite. Instead of pulling back, now is the time to do your own research, keep your eyes open to trends, and get some information from my friends at Lear Capital. Experts are still predicting $6,000 gold and $150 to $200 an ounce silver. Everything you're seeing is being driven by geopolitical uncertainty, inflation concerns, and a perceived weakening U.S. dollar, and because they hate the president. Is it time for you to buy some gold or silver or real estate? That's a decision you're going to have to make. Don't let anybody talk you into buying anything. But I will try to tell you, if you call Lear Capital, they'll help you by getting the most accurate, timely information that you'll need to make an informed decision. Call the best in the business and the company Robin and I personally trust and buy from. We're getting ready to put in a decent sized buy in the next 24 to 48 hours. Call Lear Capital. It's a free call. There's no obligation to purchase, just education and information on protecting and growing your wealth with gold and silver. I'm sure there are many of you that have called and haven't purchased yet for whatever reason. They'll even walk you through shifting some of your money sitting in retirement accounts over to physical gold and silver. It's easy to do so. I have been extremely satisfied with Lear's knowledge, service, and prices. And beyond just working with Lear, I can say that, they're friends. I urge you to call today and learn more. 800-601-5430, 800-601-5430, or go to learberry.com to learn more. Now, I understand there may be some naysayers in the chat, but I'm telling you what no one else is telling you. I'm telling you, go educate yourself before you do anything. When I look to buy a house, you have no idea the amount of research that goes into it. How I look at the comps, as I look at the different things in the neighborhood to see how things are. What do the other houses look like? I have to be able to make an informed decision. I'm not dropping $17 million on a mansion on the Intercoastal. Ain't there. But I use the same information he did. So I urge you, educate yourself right now. Be right back.
One man is being victimized by our own government. One man whom they fear, yet whom millions love. One man who is willing to take the poison arrows of lawfare. One man whose voice has been taken away by a corrupt judge operating in a corrupt system. One man who has been ridiculed and insulted. One man who refused to back down. One man who refused to back down. One man who refused to back down. One man who stands between us and them. One man that wants to see America protected again. One man who wants to see America prosper again. One man who understands that a man is a man and a woman is a woman. One man who understands and protects the blessing of life. One man who wants to restore American exceptionalism. One man who once again wants to make America that shining city on a hill for all to see. A place where all the people of the world glowingly set their eyes upon. America. One man who unashamedly wants to make America great again. That one man is Donald Trump.
This is Fanfare with Barry Cunningham.
Well, here we go. We got something, some breaking news SV's got for us. SV, what you got?
Hey, how you doing, Barry? Hello, Patriots. Yes, I'm going to predict that the price of a barrel of oil is going to go down today or tomorrow. Why? Because breaking, after pressure from President Trump, 6 American allies just pledged support to secure the Strait of Hormuz shipping lanes. They are Japan, Britain, France, Germany, Italy, and the Netherlands. Woo! That's my prediction.
Does anybody have any doubt as you're sitting back now and you're watching this movie play before you, is there any doubt that the Prime Minister of Japan isn't there to announce her support for President Trump? I mean,
what a coinkydink.
Big coinkydink. As I keep telling everybody, there's no such thing as coincidences. He knew when he announced it yesterday, she's coming. Why else would you come? Why else would she fly all the way over from Japan to come meet with President Trump other than to say, yeah, we're in, because there's no surprises. And so you're absolutely right. It's going to drop and markets are going to change again. And then the bad guys are going to have to regroup and figure out, okay, what's our next attack? What do we do? And it just keeps happening. Just like with that craziness that Candace Owens said, and she's like, we're losing. If anybody says that to you, losing to who? Show me
the
someone.
Voices in their heads.
Show me somebody willing to come up to a microphone somewhere, and then hopefully they won't get vaporized while they're actually on TV. I mean, you know it. At this point, the rats are in the tunnels and everything. They can't figure out what to do. It's yeah. I can look forward to that. Thank you.
All right.
And just to bring you up to speed, what's happening. So it is now 11:30, and obviously President Trump and the Prime Minister of Japan have not come out yet. There's been no video release. So as I'm looking at my feed, it said 11. It said estimated 11:15. Now it says estimated 11:30, and it's 11:32 right now. So that's probably going to get bounced back as well. So good. Luckily, I've got content for you. So the first thing I want to show you isn't the Pete Hegseth presser, because I'm figuring a lot of people might have seen the Pete Hegseth information. But I want to show you something that Scott Bessent did today with Maria Bartiromo. I guess that's how your name on Fox Business. And I want you to really, if you have to take a pencil or whatever, and you start looking at some of the things this guy is saying, not the rumors on X, not this person on CNN, but the actual people. Listen to what he had to say this morning, and we'll react along with it.
But first, there's this. The Federal Reserve held rates steady for a second time yesterday, as expected, over what they claimed was elevated inflation and uncertainty around the Iran conflict. Chairman Jay Powell signaling that we will only see one interest rate cut this year. Powell also said he'll remain at the Fed until his successor, Kevin Warsh, is confirmed by the Senate. And the investigation into him is over, something that I've been reporting all week and asking my guests about. Here's the comment that sent markets spiraling lower yesterday. Watch this.
I have no intention of leaving the board until the investigation is well and truly over, with transparency and finality.
Okay, let's stop there. Stop there. I told you they're pulling out all the stops. They've got the grease pole in all the offices trying to hold on as best they can. So this curmudgeon decides he's going to go out there and say, you know what? I ain't leaving. I ain't ever leaving. You're going to have to drag me out of here. And I'm not lowering the rates. So F you, Trump. Like I said, keep your head when everybody about you is losing their minds. They're trying every single thing they can to stop the Trump train. He knows. This guy worth $50 million or so. He knows what's about to happen. He knows that as soon as this stuff in Iran is done, it's going to shoot up. He knows once they start lowering interest rates, what's going to happen in the housing market. They all know. At that point, they have no defense. They can't do anything. You just have to recognize it. You have to be your own Rudyard Kipling and go, I keep my head when everything else looks crazy. But the only way you're going to keep your head is if you invest in your education and understand what the hell is going on. Not on X, not on CNN, but to the people who are actually doing stuff. And then when you can see the field clearly in front of you, like, what do you mean you're not leaving? What? You're not wanted at this party, bro. Go away. Nope, I'm not leaving, and I'm not lowering the interest rates. What business person does that? What business person worth $50 million does that? So don't tell me this guy, this puppet for the deep state, isn't being told, you stay your butt right there. You don't give Trump not even an inch. You don't leave. We need to screw this guy to the wall. We can't have his supporters thinking they're going to be prosperous.
Of course, Powell's term as chairman is up on May 15th. However, he can stay on the board as a governor through early 2028. Joining us.
Did you know that? We all knew that he had to leave in May, but not only he's going to leave as the chairman, but he's going to stay on as one of the governors board where he still has a vote to, screw people. Like I read, talk to you about in Lear, they are doing everything they can to suppress everything. So what happens when they can't suppress anymore? Well, that's when you buy $17 million mansions in Boca because you know what's about to happen.
And Mr. Secretary, it's always a pleasure to see you. Thank you so much for being here this morning.
Good morning, Maria.
I want to get your take on the impact of this war on Iran. Of course, you are in the middle of this, the intersection of the economy and war, and you've been allowing oil flows from Iran, Russia, of course, what the president did in terms of Venezuela, to try to stabilize prices. But I want to get your take about that in terms of potentially funding our enemies in doing all of this. Is the reality of this oil shock as a result of this war colliding with the president's maximum pressure campaign on Iran?
Not at all, Maria, because it's the president's maximum pressure campaign that started last March against Iran and its oil exports. The customers, their shadow fleet that brought the Iranian economy to its knees in December. They had a very large bank failure. The central bank had to come in, rescue the bank, printed money, caused great inflation, and the people went out onto the streets. And that was the real turning point for this regime. The regime is in trouble. I said last week on another show that they're in Hitler's bunker and Hitler's dead. Well, I can tell you, as of this week, Himmler and Göring are dead too. The leadership has been decapitated, and contrary to what the mainstream media in the U.S. wants you to believe, they are in chaos. They are having trouble communicating, and all these rocket launches that you see are the death throes of a dying regime.
Death throes, agonal breathing. That's what I said. If you sit back and watch it and you say, like he called about Hitler and Himmler and all the other guys are all dead. And I love the direct way they're saying this stuff. Trump's like, I negotiate, but they're all dead. I'm not going to negotiate with a piece of cardboard. And so everybody who says we're losing or Trump doesn't have control, ask them who they got. Who's in control? Who's running your country? I see J.D. Vance yesterday. President Trump's getting ready to come on in a little while. You guys got anybody? I mean, anybody? How can you be losing when there's no players on the field? How can you be winning when there's no players on the field, I guess I should say? When Candace and all these people say, oh, it's over. Over to who? Nobody wants to answer that because right now they are in as well the death throes. Whatever puppet master is running some of these people online, they are also in their death throes. Makes them dangerous. Don't make no bones about it. It makes them very dangerous. One of the things we're hearing today, all of a sudden, is that it was an unspoken secret that Joe Kent was a leaker. Everybody knew it. And it makes you think, well, why the hell didn't they do something about it? Oh, because he was feeding them information. And so you're seeing a media right now who's having their spigot turned off, and they're losing it.
Yeah, and the escalation overnight and the president tweeting and posting on Truth Social about there will be no more attacks on that very important gas and oil infrastructure in Iran because it triggered Qatar. I feel like there was an escalation. Can you tell us anything about what the president is trying to message out here? He's been very, very direct in terms of obliterating Iran's military infrastructure, but holding back in terms of hitting the oil and gas infrastructure.
Yeah, and Maria, on the military, last night was the biggest night for strikes thus far in this campaign. As we move into days 19 and 20, we keep escalating the military campaign. President Trump wants to have something for the Iranian people on the other side, so we are not attacking their energy infrastructure. On Karg Island, which is the nexus, 90% of Iranian oil comes out of there. We did a precision strike against all the military targets on that island, and none of the energy assets were targeted. So we have allowed Iranian oil to continue out of the Gulf, where some Indian tankers have moved out, some Chinese tankers have moved out. And Maria, to be clear, this is a coordinated effort. We had a break the glass plan across the administration and at Treasury. We unsanctioned Russian oil. We knew that there were about 130 million barrels on the water, and we created supply that is beyond the Straits of Hormuz. So we anticipated this. We knew that there could be a temporary, and I want to emphasize temporary, choke point there, and there was 130 million barrels of floating storage. In the coming days, we may unsanction the Iranian oil that's on the water. It's about 140 million barrels. So depending on how you count it, that's 10 days to 2 weeks of supply that the Iranians had been pushing out. That would have all gone to China. In essence, we will be using the Iranian barrels against the Iranians.
We're using your own supply against you. Bet you don't hear that from the Panicans today. Bet you won't hear that anywhere on the news today. How the different moves that President Trump and Scott Bessent. I haven't seen a Treasury Secretary this involved with the entirety of what the president is doing. Think back. How many former Treasury secretaries can you even name? What was a woman who looked like a bald eagle? I forget her name, but she wasn't involved. None of them have been involved with world and global economics the way this guy is. I think he's actually probably one of the brain trust of the whole thing. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to tighten this one. We're going to open up this one. So what did the first thing the media say yesterday? Oh, so you're going to let Russia make some money. All right, well, instead, the question should have been, why are you letting Russia make some money? That's not they don't understand that. Why would you let Russia get oil, but not let China get oil? And bring it back. If you bring it back and start thinking that's the question, you're going to help Russia get some more oil. You're going to help Russia make some money. You're choking off China. What would be the reason for that? Okay.
To keep the price down for the next 10 or 14 days as we continue this campaign. So we have lots of levers. We've got plenty more that we can do. The largest coordinated SPR release in history, 400 million barrels, was approved last week. And some countries are going to do more. The U.S. could unilaterally do another SPR release to keep the price down. As you will have noted, WTI and its European counterpart Brent have substantially diverged over the past few trading sessions. They were trading right on top of each other last week. And this is because the U.S., thanks to President Trump in his first term, the continuing efforts here, is virtually energy independent.
The more they tell people that, the more you hear that, the more dangerous it is for the deep state. If we are truly an energy independent country, then why are the gas prices going up? Not enough people are asking that question. Nobody in the media says, could it be that people in certain states are artificially inflating gas prices so it fits with your narrative? Because if people were getting, $2.50, $2.70 gas right now, nobody would even care what's going on in Iran. Well, gas price is fine with me, $2.50, $2.60. So why would the gas prices need to be higher? So the Democrats have a message. The Democrats need to be able to say, hey, your gas is up 30 cents, 40 cents, 50 cents a gallon. And nobody says, why? Why is our gas up 40, 50 cents a gallon in 3 weeks? Why does nobody ask at these press conferences, doesn't it take weeks for the oil to get to where they need to get? Oh, wait a second. I can't even ask that question because we don't use it. So if we're not using the oil in the Straits of Hormuz, then how the hell is our gas prices in America going up? I'm going to take you back to something President Trump said 2 weeks ago that people freaked out when he said it. And he's like, we're going to make a whole bunch of money here. You see, he knew that those countries are dependent. He knew we weren't. And what's the best way to make sure you get hurt? As the Democrat said yesterday, we need to cause pain. Well, it's to make sure you don't get comfortable with what's going on in Iran. I'm telling you right now, if you went to the pump and it was $2.65, $2.70, nobody would even turn on the news. Doesn't affect you. Doesn't really affect you now, except for a couple cents extra on a fill-up. But what would it be like, the camera just came up. What would it be like if you didn't have to worry about what the price of gas was? How much attention would you be looking at X for every little bit of thing? Wow, that was quick. And they're already on. Let's get to it.
Excuse me, we need to shift. This is the U.S. pool.
Great job. Well, thank you very much, everybody. It's great to have you, and we have a very special person, just won a tremendous election in a record-setting fashion, so you have something in common. And I was very proud and honored to endorse the Prime Minister because of the fact that I felt she was really good. I thought she did a fantastic job. I respect her a lot, so I gave her an endorsement. And she had the most successful election, in my opinion, in the history of Japan, won by the most ever. So we have a very popular, powerful woman, and she's a great woman. We have a very fine relationship, and we're going to be talking about trade and many other things. And it's an honor to have you. Thank you very much.
皆様ありがとうございます。本日は非常に特別な方にいらしていただいております。歴史的な選挙の圧勝ということで、私と共通するものがあると思います。私たち素晴らしい絆を持っておりまして、だからこそ私の方からも応援のメッセージを出させていただきました。素晴らしい人であり、私も心から尊敬している方です。日本の歴史上最も素晴らしい選挙で圧勝したということで、人気の高い女性であり、すごい方だと私も思っております。本日に関しては貿易その他の課題について多く話をする予定です。
Thank you, Donald, for inviting me to the White House today.
Thank you.
My visit is timely. So, given the current situation, so.
Oh, please, yes, absolutely. You have a very good interpreter.
Yeah.
Who I've known for a long time. With Shinzo,
your
right?
friend. 今中東情勢も含めて、それから世界中の安全保障環境が非常に厳しい状況にあります。
Right now, situations in the Middle East and also the entire world, we are actually experiencing a very severe security environment.
そして世界経済もかなり厳しい影響を受けつつあります。
And also the global economy is now about to experience a huge hit because of this development.
でも私は世界の繁栄とそして平和に貢献できる、世界中に平和と繁栄をもたらせるのはドナルドだけだと思っています。
But even against that backdrop, I firmly believe that it is only you, Donald, who can achieve peace across the world.
そのために私は諸外国に働きかけてしっかりと応援をしたいと思っています。
And to do so, I am ready to reach out to many of the partners in the international community to achieve our objective together.
今日私はそれを伝えに来ました。
So today, I came here at the White House to directly convey this message to you.
そしてイランに関してはもう核兵器の開発、これは許されてはならないことですから日本も働きかけをしてきました。
And speaking of the situation in Iran, Iran's development of nuclear weapons must never be allowed. And that is why we, Japan, have been urging them and also reaching out to other partners in the world.
そして我が国は周辺国に対する攻撃、ホルムズ海峡の実質的な閉鎖についてもこれは非難をし、そして茂木外務大臣からもイランの外務大臣に対してもうそれをやめるように申し入れをしてきました。
In addition, Japan condemns Iran's actions such as attacking the neighboring region and also the de facto or effective closure of the Strait of Hormuz. As a matter of fact, my fellow minister, Minister Motegi, Foreign Minister Motegi, also had the direct exchange with the Iranian foreign minister and urged Iran to stop such activities.
You'll let me know. You'll let me know.
それでとにかく今中東だけじゃなくてインド太平洋の安全保障環境も大変厳しい中にあります。そんな中でドナルドが日本に深い信頼を寄せてくれてで揺るぎない同盟にコミットメントしてくれていることに感謝をいたしております。
And also the security environment in the Indo-Pacific region is also becoming increasingly severe. Donald, you have shown deep trust in Japan and also the unwavering commitment to the Japan-US alliance. Once again, thank you very much for that.
今日は日本とアメリカが共に強く豊かになっていくための話し合いをしたいと思っています。
And today, I look forward to having a discussion on how we can cooperate to make our two nations, both Japan and the United States, stronger and more prosperous.
それから世界のエネルギーマーケットを落ち着かせるための提案も持ってまいりました。
And I also brought specific proposals to calm down the global energy market.
この後主に経済安全保障、重要鉱物ですとかエネルギーに関する協力、そしてお互いに強い経済を作るための成長のための話し合い、経済成長のための話し合いをしたいと思っています。Thank you, Donald.
So today, I really look forward to having our discussion, particularly focusing on our collaboration in economic security in the important areas such as energy and rare earth minerals. And also, I look forward to discussing with you how we can make our two economies stronger moving forward. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you very much, and you're doing a great job. Again, congratulations on the biggest win in the history of Japan. That's not bad. That's a pretty long history. That's a large nation with a great reputation, but it's a tremendous victory. Congratulations to everybody. Very proud of you. Very proud of you. We become friends, and I'm very proud of the job you've done. It's not easy. Any questions, please?
Mr. President, are you fully satisfied with the level of support that you're getting from Japan on Iran, including around minesweepers?
Well, we're going to be speaking about it today. Go ahead, you can go.
日本から、平井邸などの支援に関して、その点について今の状況に満足していらっしゃいますか?
We're going to be speaking about it today. We've had tremendous support and relationship with Japan on everything. And I believe that based on statements that were given to us yesterday, the day before yesterday, having to do with Japan, they are really stepping up to the plate. Yes.
非常に日本政府から素晴らしい支援を受けていると思います。おとといのコメントから、日本からはそれに対して非常に力強いメッセージを得ていると私は思っています。
Unlike NATO.
NATO とは全く違いますね。
Please.
Mr. President, do you intend to lift sanctions on Iranian oil, and do you intend to potentially put U.S. troops or more troops in the region?
No, I'm not putting troops anywhere. If I were, I certainly wouldn't tell you. But I'm not putting troops, and we will do whatever is necessary to keep the price as low. I actually thought when I did this, look, the Dow just hit 50,000 a couple of weeks ago. They said that couldn't happen for 4 years. It wouldn't happen in my term. It's such an outrageous thing because I said it would happen. I didn't know it was going to happen that fast, but it just hit 50,000, and we did that in 1 year, not 4. S&P had just hit 7,000. They said that was even more impossible than the Dow hitting 50, and we did that in 1 year. So it was all done. Everything was going great. The economy was great. Oil prices were very low. Gasoline was dropping to, I mean, we had $1.99, $1.85. We had great everything. And I saw what was happening in Iran, and I said, I hate to make this excursion, but we're going to have to do it. And I actually thought the numbers would be worse. I thought that it would go up more than it did. But we're doing this excursion, and when it's completed, we're going to have a much safer world. And the Prime Minister agrees with me on this. She considers it to be terrible what Iran did. I think every country does, just about every country does. Iran is a serious threat to the world, to the Middle East and to the world. And everybody agrees with me. I think virtually every country agrees with me on that. So I wanted to put out that fire. And I said, you know, if I do that, oil prices will go up, the economy will go down a little bit. I thought it would be worse, much worse, actually. I thought there was a chance it could be much worse. It's not bad, and it's going to be over with pretty soon. We've obliterated their Navy. We've obliterated their just about everything there is to obliterate, including leadership. Their Navy's gone, their Air Force is gone, their anti-aircraft equipment is gone. We're flying wherever we want, Pete. We have nobody even shooting at us. They have, I mean, and as you know, their leadership is gone. Their leaders are gone. They picked new leaders, they're gone. They picked new leaders, they're gone. And now they're looking for new leaders again. We can take out the island if anytime we want. I call it the little oil island that sits there, so totally unprotected. And we've taken out everything but the pipes. We left the pipes because to rebuild the pipes would take years for them to do. But we are, I would say, we are substantially ahead of schedule. And I had to do this. I call it an excursion. I had to take this little excursion and do something that no other president had the courage to do. And everybody wanted to do it, but they never had the courage to do. And I don't blame them. I'm not blaming them. It was left to me, and we've done a great job. Our military is incredible. We have an incredible military. We have the strongest military in the world by far. We have the greatest equipment in the world by far. In fact, Japan buys our equipment, buys a lot of it, and we're honored by that. And that's one of the things we'll be talking. They want to buy a lot of the military equipment. So it's just an honor to have the Prime Minister. We've had a tremendous relationship. Okay.
Mr. President.
I think she's going to have to go first before you. Is that okay? Do you understand? It's very good. I'll tell you. She's good. I mean, it's so nice that we don't have to sit. No, it's very good. I haven't picked up your language, so the next time you come, I'll have your language mastered. All right, go ahead.
The war is almost over.
Why is the Pentagon going to ask Congress for an additional $200 billion?
Well, we're asking for a lot of reasons beyond even what we're talking about in Iran. This is a very volatile world, and the military equipment, the power of some of this weaponry is unthinkable. You don't even want to know about it. Oh, you could end this thing in 2 seconds if you wanted to, but we are being very judicious. But we want to do. Don't forget, Biden gave away. I rebuilt the military in my first term. Biden gave away so stupidly to Afghanistan a lot. He didn't want to move it. He was too lazy, too stupid to move it. But it was a very small amount. It was a lot, but it was very small relative to what I purchased and what I built. We want to have vast amounts of ammunition, which we have right now. We have a lot of ammunition, but it was taken down by giving so much to Ukraine. They gave so much. You know, Biden gave $350 billion worth of cash and military equipment to Ukraine, and he didn't rebuild anything. Fortunately, we have a lot. We have a tremendous, unlimited supply of what you'd call middle and upper middle armaments and military equipment, munitions, armaments, but munitions in particular. At the high end, we have a lot, but we're preserving it. We don't really need it. But we're building, our manufacturers of military equipment are building at a level they've never seen before, they've never done before. Pete's in charge of it with all of us, really. But Pete's been very strong on it. The general and Pete, myself, the whole group. And Raytheon is building 4 factories. Lockheed is building 5 or 6 factories. And they're building them fast, because we had a very tough meeting with them. They were going out and buying back stock for $51 billion in one case. They spent $51 billion buying back stock. Now they're not allowed to do that. And they are now building a tremendous, there's never been anything like it, what's taking place right now. So we're in very good shape, but we want to be in the best shape we've ever been in. We were that, you know, when I rebuilt the military, we were in great shape, and then Biden blew it, and he didn't do anything. He didn't do anything. And if you listen to the Democrats, they don't even want to have a military. Now you see how important it is. But we have the strongest military in the world. We have the best equipment. We make by far the best equipment. The other night, they had 114 rockets shot at a certain location. And out of 100 highly sophisticated rockets, out of 114 sophisticated rockets, every single one of them was shot down with our equipment. All our equipment. It's amazing, actually, how good it is. So we want to be sure, and it's a small price to pay to make sure that we stay tippy-top.
Mr. President, Mr. President,
Thank you, Mr. President. The Treasury Secretary this morning said there were defections among Iranian leadership. Are you aware of that, and is there anybody the U.S. can work with as a leader going forward?
Well, we have a man named the Treasury Secretary here, so maybe he wants to discuss it. Does anybody know? Do you know who he is? Central Casting.
Yeah, so Ed, we are seeing the defections at all levels as they're starting to sense what's going on with the regime. It doesn't get reported here in the U.S. very well, but you know we are trouncing them from the air, and the regime will probably collapse within itself. At Treasury, we've seen where they've wired their money out of the country. We're coming for that. We're going to get it back to the Iranian people.
Mr. President, seeing defections?
On Israel,
There's a lot of military defections also. You have a lot of military defections in Iran. I don't blame them.
Thank you, Mr. President. Have you talked to Prime Minister Netanyahu about attacking the oil and gas fields?
Yeah, I did. I told him, don't do that, and he won't do that. We didn't discuss. You know, we do. We're independent. We get along great. It's coordinated, but on occasion he'll do something, and if I don't like it, and so we're not doing that anymore.
And the last one, if I could, the Fed chairman told me yesterday that he plans to stay until a new Fed chairman is confirmed, and he also plans to stay on the board until the investigation of the Federal Reserve is done.
Well, he's under investigation because he's building a building for hundreds of billions of dollars more than it's supposed to cost. The building you see over there is under budget and ahead of schedule. That's the ballroom. The ballroom is a much bigger building. It's a much more complex building than what he's doing, and it's at a fraction of the cost. Something is going on, whether it's contractors. That's what I do best in the world. I build great buildings. I've always done it. And I build them under budget and ahead of schedule. They could have $4 billion. This is a renovation job for $4 billion. And if you look at the building, it's not even, I don't know if Kevin Warsh is ever going to be able to move into it. It's been under construction for years. It's the most expensive building ever built. Now, I know it's gross incompetent because I happen to think he's grossly incompetent. Today, certainly you should be lowering interest rates, all right? Certainly, who would not lower them? But he's stubborn, and he's got Trump derangement syndrome. But a lot of people have that, you know. It's not a curable disease. But he's also building. He should be lowering rates immediately. But he won't do that because he's a stubborn, incompetent person. And that's a bad thing. You know, when you're stubborn and incompetent, I think it's the worst combination. And he's also not a smart person. But he's building a complex over there that's under his jurisdiction. He started it, and it's out of control. It's billions of dollars for a little building. I could have done that building and made it beautiful for $25 million. $25 million, and it would have been beautiful. Look what I've done at the White House, fixing it up. And I mean, the place was in bad shape. You see the floors and everything. It was in bad shape. I could have made that building beautiful for $25 million. They're spending $4 billion. All right. So there is criminality. Maybe it's with the contractor, but because I know more about contractors than any human being maybe that's ever lived. But that contractor is a very rich man. Whoever the contractor is, and we know, but whoever the contractor is an extremely rich man. He's going to make, I mean, he could make millions of dollars. I'm hearing numbers from $3 to $4 billion. That would make it the most expensive building on a square foot basis ever built in history. And you're not even building a building, it's a renovation. The exterior skin is staying, the steel is staying, the structure. So all I want to do is bring out to the public that this guy is an incompetent. He's a very incompetent guy. And he may be a dishonest guy, but somebody's dishonest because there's no way that building could be $3 to $4 billion.
Mr. President, on the Strait of Hormuz.
Thank you.
Please.
Mr. President, you just mentioned Japan.
This looks like one of your people right here.
Thank you.
Is he good or bad? Good. Is he a good reporter or bad? You know?
So.
Not a, all right, he looks like a nice guy. Go ahead.
Mr. President, you just mentioned Japan is stepping up. What kind of support do you expect from Japan in the future?
Look, I expect Japan to step up because, you know, we have that kind of relationship. And we step up for Japan. We have 45,000 soldiers in Japan. We spend a lot of money on Japan. And we've had that kind of a relationship. So I expect, I'm not surprised that they would step up. We don't need much. We don't need anything. I mean, honestly, we don't need anything from Japan or from anyone else. But I think it's appropriate that people step up. In the case of Japan, I hear they get more than 90% of their oil through the Strait. So that's a big reason to step up. I mean, we've demolished, that country is close to demolished. The only thing is the Strait. It's very hard. You could take two people and they could drop little bombs in the water and they're holding things up. We don't want that to happen. But honestly, Japan, China, Europe, parts of Europe, get a lot of their oil through the Strait. We get none, practically. We're less than 1%. We don't have to be any percent. We don't even, I think we do it just to be nice. But we think of it, we don't use the Strait. We're defending the Strait for everybody else. And then in the case of NATO, they don't want to help us defend the Strait, and they're the ones that need it. But now they're getting much nicer because they're seeing my attitude. They're getting much nicer. But it's, as far as I'm concerned, it's too late. You know, UK wants to send aircraft carriers now. And I said, I want the aircraft carriers before the war. I don't want them after the war is won. They want to send me aircraft carriers after the war. There's practically nobody to shoot at them. You know, their missile count is down, Pete. Maybe you could discuss it by about 90-something%. The drones are way down, and the factories are being demolished. Maybe.
Yes, sir. Our missiles being shot are down over 90% since the beginning. One-way attack drones down 90% since the beginning, which is a reflection of overwhelming firepower. But you mentioned the most important part, Mr. President. Their defense industrial base. If you can't make more of it in the future, then you have a limited supply. And so we're going after all of their defense contractors that make all of their exquisite weapons and ensuring that even if they wanted to rebuild more launchers or more missiles, they couldn't in the future. And that's a level of devastation for their military that they've never seen before.
So we have, in literally 2 weeks, we've demolished their Navy, their Air Force. All technology is gone. All communication is gone. And all of the leaders are gone. Other than that, they're doing quite well. Okay, how about one more question for the Prime Minister? Let me pick a beautiful-looking person from Japan. A question for the Prime Minister. Go ahead.
Me?
Yeah, sure. Oh, he doesn't believe he's beautiful.
Oh, okay.
He sounded shy.
We're Japanese people. Of course, no, Japan and US are very good friends. But one question, why didn't you tell US allies in Europe and Asia, like Japan, about the war before attacking Iran? So we are very confused about we Japanese citizens.
Well, one thing, you don't want to signal too much. You know, when we go in, we went in very hard, and we didn't tell anybody about it because we wanted surprise. Who knows better about surprise than Japan? Okay? Why didn't you tell me about Pearl Harbor? Okay? Right? You know, he's asking me, no, you believe in surprise, I think much more so than us. And we had to surprise him, and we did. And because of that surprise, we knocked out, the first 2 days, we probably knocked out 50% of what and much more than we anticipated doing. So if I go and tell everybody about it, there's no longer a surprise, right? Okay, one more for the Prime Minister.
Mr. President.
Are you good for the Prime Minister?
Yes,
Go ahead, for the Prime Minister.
Thank you very much. Japan's TJ Press. Japan's biggest concern is China. Now they are giving us export control and very harsh terms to criticize us. So will you plan to bring up relationship between Japan and China while you're there?
Yeah. Well, I'll be going to China very quickly, but I think I'd really like to have the Prime Minister talk about China because I know they have a little bit of an edgy relationship, and I'd just like to know where it stands, how you're doing with China. So, please.
で日本はいつも中国に対してオープンです。会話はオープンにしています。それから冷静に対応しています。でとにかく米中関係も含めてですね、これが地域の安定、それから世界のサプライチェーン、これに貢献するものであることを願っています。日本は常にオープンです。
So first of all, Japan has been consistently open to dialogue with China. And also, second, we have been addressing our relations with China in a calm manner. And also, speaking of the US-China relationship, my sincere hope is that the relationship will be something conducive for regional security and also ensuring the global supply chain in the world. Once again, I would like to reiterate that Japan has been consistently open to dialogue with China.
And I think we're going to have a great trip. The trip has been postponed for about a month and a half. It's been reset, and we look forward to it. And I'll be speaking Japan's praises when I'm in China with President Xi. But we're going to have some good talks today. And I think mostly about trade, because they want to do a lot of trade. They're a tremendous purchaser of our energy, our oil, gas from, in particular, Alaska. Because Alaska, believe it or not, is very close. It's much closer than any other source. It's just It seems a little cold compared to, but it's just a short trip.
So that's something that we will talk after the press corps leaves.
We'll be discussing trade, and a lot of the talk will be about energy. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you, President. Thank you, President.
All right, so that was shorter than I expected. I see all the players in the room: Scott Bessent, Pete Hegseth, Marco Rubio, didn't say anything, J.D. Vance, Howard Lutnick. Howard Lutnick was supposed to be getting booted or something. Yeah, right. It's all fake. You can tell by the reporters. You hear the same old questions over and over again. It's all fake. So we're going to get back to the Scott Bessent, interview with Maria Bartiromo, and let's react to that. And then, of course, I've got the Pete Hegseth press conference. That's all queued up as well. But first, let me tell you about one of today's sponsors, Brightcore. The next pandemic, according to the experts, isn't a virus. It's antimicrobial resistance, or when antibiotics no longer work. But here's what they're not talking about. The real damage isn't just resistant bacteria. It's what decades of antibiotic overuse does to your gut. Antibiotics don't just kill the bad bacteria, they wipe out the good ones too. When your gut microbiome gets thrown off, everything starts to break down. Your immune function, your metabolism, your inflammation control, and even your brain health. And the most powerful way to rebuild that kind of microbial diversity is through a century-old fermented food that nobody ever thought was going to be that important: kimchi. Kimchi contains over 900 unique strains of beneficial probiotics that are naturally antimicrobial, which means it's antibacterial, antifungal, antiviral, and antiparasitic. Because it's not about killing everything, it's about restoring balance in your body. That's exactly why Brightcore created Kimchi One. It delivers the full microbial ecosystem of fresh kimchi in one convenient daily capsule. It's cold pressed, dried to deliver all the nutrition of natural fermented kimchi. So if you want to strengthen your gut, support your immune system, and rebuild microbial diversity the right way, you might want to look into getting hold of some Kimchi One. Many people here in the Fanfare family are using it, and today you can get an exclusive offer by clicking the link in the description for 25% off your entire order. Or for an even better deal, you can call my friends at Brightcore for up to 50% off your order and free shipping. Give them a call now at 888-416738. Or you can go to brightcore.com/Barry. Either way. Let me see if is SV in the house? Is he looking? Hold on before I click over to him. Yeah, he's there. You got anything?
Nope, nothing fresh, but I'm sure there will be in a couple minutes. Hold the line. Hold the line.
We'll be back in 90 seconds.
Welcome back to Fanfare with Barry Cunningham.
All right, so I have a little bit of breaking news. You guys, well, put it this way. I consider it breaking news. This happened at the hearing today with Tulsi Gabbard talking to members of the House. Yesterday was members of the Senate. This is very interesting. Listen to what she says here. You got to listen in real quick.
Thank you for the question, Ranking Member. As you know, over each of the previous elections, there is an ongoing effort by different foreign entities.
Ma'am, it's a very specific question. Is there intelligence in your possession relative to foreign interference in the 2020 elections? Very simple, straightforward question.
We are continuing to look at previous attempts to interfere in our elections and any ongoing threats that may exist for the upcoming elections.
Okay, but can I assume that the answer to my question is no, that you have no specific intelligence related to foreign meddling in the Georgia election?
We are continuing to look into this matter.
Okay. Director, the ODNI has confirmed on the record that your office took custody of voting machines from Puerto Rico last May. I'm not aware of any previous DNI taking similar actions. Did your office promptly notify the committee about taking custody of Puerto Rico's voting machines?
I don't believe we did. However, this was done at the request of the Puerto Rico AUSA attorney.
Ma'am, it's a yes or no question. The answer, as you have acknowledged, is no. You did not inform the committee about the taking of a territory's voting machines. Is there a specific foreign threat? And I've read the reporting that you were looking for possible foreign threats, but is there a specific foreign threat that drove you to take this action?
There were questions about whether or not there were vulnerabilities that a threat could have taken advantage of, and that was the purpose for their requesting us to look into those vulnerabilities.
Where are those voting machines now?
I believe they are held in a secure facility at ODNI.
Have you or other ODNI officials taken any other state or territory's voting equipment into custody?
Not to my knowledge.
That's the first time that I have actually heard that we have seized the voting equipment from Puerto Rico. Things are getting really juicy, aren't they? Oh, they're getting really juicy. And I have one more breaking news story from you, which can tell you how bad the Democrats are flailing right now. I mean, this is unbelievable. When you think about your gas prices, I want to tell you about this, and then we'll get back to Scott Besson.
But these rigs have been dormant for a decade till Friday when President Trump turned on the tap. Hollywood celebrities last year protested the reopening of a major oil pipeline.
It is they'll tell lies up the kazoo in order to justify drilling for oil at a time when we shouldn't be doing that.
In 2015, the state effectively closed oil rigs off the Santa Barbara coast when a pipeline carrying the crude burst. The new owner repaired the pipe, but the state still opposes restarting production.
The Trump administration has no ground to stand on. The law is clear. These pipelines fall within California's jurisdiction.
But Friday, President Trump used his authority to override the state and reopen the pipeline.
We're going to fill up 6 million Californian consuming cars every month with our oil out of Sable offshore. And if that's not impactful to California, I don't know what is.
California oil production has dropped dramatically in recent decades, forcing dozens of refineries to close, leading the state to become more dependent on foreign oil. Nonetheless,
what the hell are we doing? How do you have arguably one of the biggest states in the country whose economy is dependent upon, or not dependent, but rivals some third world and other countries and across the world, and you're turning off the spigot of gas for people who live in your state because there might be some fish that got sick 11 years ago? You see how things have been manipulated? You saw the graph where the oil and gas production in the state of California has completely plummeted, and then these wackos get out there and protest. And by the way, I won't show it, but in about an hour, Gavin Newsom is having a press conference to announce that he's suing the President of the United States and the country because they're turning the gas spigot back on. Let that sink in right now and combine it with what I told you earlier, how anything they can possibly do to stop the Trump train is what they're doing. They're going to sue to stop him from bringing more oil and gas into America. Meanwhile, we're going to go buy it from some other country. So the same ships that are coming across the ocean and heading their way into California, that's okay. But drilling so you become self-sufficient, oh no, we can't do that. We're going to go as far as sue. Wow.
Governor Gavin Newsom opposes the pipeline. California will not allow this desperate political stunt to put our coastal communities and environment at risk. So the 3 wells here are currently pumping out 50,000 barrels a day, enough to fuel hundreds of thousands of cars. But the state is going to challenge the administration in court, arguing that the pipeline is on state land. So, Brett, it could be up to a federal judge if the oil still flows. Back to you.
You can't make this stuff up. And I didn't make it up. When I talked to you earlier and said they're throwing everything they possibly can to stop, they're trying to keep this country from being prosperous. They will do whatever they possibly can to stop it from entering some sort of prosperity for the rest of everybody. You're going to be able to fuel hundreds of thousands of cars per week across the state of California. Like, no, we can't have that. We got to have the $7 a gallon gas that we're getting from somebody else. Don't let any Democrat tell you that there's anything but an effort afoot to destroy this country. My gosh. When you get the information, you actually can see it. You can smell the desperation at this point. All right, so let's go back to Scott Bessent.
And when President Trump says our allies should join us in a coalition along the Straits of Hormuz, that they're the ones who need this oil. The U.S., we're an oil exporter.
Absolutely. And you're hitting at exactly the point that I was making at the top of this interview, and that is you are walking this balance of energy stability versus keeping the pressure on Iran. In terms of the Treasury intervening in markets, I mean, Secretary, markets have been under pressure, obviously, from the beginning of this conflict. The Dow down nearly 6%, the S&P and the NASDAQ down as oil prices move higher. I mean, Brent at one point this morning was at $118 after those attacks overnight that we talked about on the key energy facilities. You've said no plans to intervene in markets specifically. What conditions would force Treasury to intervene?
Well, Maria, we're talking about two things here. I think there's been some speculation that U.S. Treasury would intervene in the futures market, and we're absolutely not doing that. But we are intervening in markets by creating this excess supply with oil that's on the water. So, in essence, by the time we unsanction the floating Iranian oil, we would have intervened and we would have created about 260 million excess barrels of energy. And it.
Wait a second. So you're telling me that gas prices are rising 40 and 50 cents a gallon. We're just bringing over 200 million gazillion barrels of oil that's flowing freely. And all these other countries are now seeing the light and like, I guess we got to help Donald. I guess we got to go secure this thing because we need it. Not us. They need it. Not coming to us. We got our own. But our gas prices are up. And then you got the governor of one of our biggest states saying, we can't have oil unless we buy it from someplace else. We're in a twilight zone, people. I saw Tina, I think it was Tina, she's like, my head is spinning. I just can't. You're exactly right. You are exactly right. You do have a tension headache because I'm like, the more I tell you guys, the more you hear, the more you pay attention to, the more you sit back and go, what in the hell is going on? How can this possibly be? Did we really go into some form of alternate reality? No, what you're watching is the reality of the Democrats beginning to see, or really understanding, they're completely screwed. And so they are doing everything like a kid throwing tantrums. No, you can't have the oil. No, you're not going to get the Save America Act. No, no, no. Epstein, anything. I'll talk to you about the Epstein stuff later on, because that was just a complete theater. And so if you do the Rudyard Kipling and keep your head about you, and like, woosah, you can clearly see you're watching a movie, and some of the actors in this movie have lost it. Completely lost it. SV tells me it's a really bad day today with trolls. You ever ask yourself why we have so many trolls? You ever wonder to yourself, what makes somebody who doesn't like you go in and talk crap about the stuff you're watching? Because it's a concerted effort to distract you. They don't want you knowing a lot of this stuff. They can't take it when people are an informed population. And so it's easy to crank down the stock market or gold or silver or the housing market. It's easy to manipulate it. And Jerome Powell can say, I'm not lowering interest rates. I'm not leaving. Why? Why is it so important for you guys to disrupt chats, to manipulate the markets? What is it that your end goal is? And then when you sit back and go, the end goal is to get rid of Trump and MAGA and to maintain power. Power.
I think that the temporary closure in the Strait is leading to about a 10 to 14 million barrel per day deficit. Then that is, depending on how you count it, approximately three weeks of oil to stabilize the market. So that is.
Okay. So if the man in charge of the country's money, essentially, Scott Bessent, is looking at a forecast of, we're looking at 2, 3, let's go to the outside, 4 weeks or so. And we should be looking like some stabilization on their markets. Remember, this isn't for us. This is for people over there. Japan gets 80%. We don't. Like President Trump said, we're good. We're trying to help you guys. We're really good. We got Venezuela, remember? Yeah. And so if they're looking at this thing as a 3 to 4 week, they've already factored in all the disruptions, what they're going to do, how they're going to do it, the protests, blah, 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 the actors, the Oscars. Oh, by the way, the quick squirrel. You see what happened with the Oscars? Nobody's watching it. What made these people, I don't want to get away from Scott, but what made these people think we wanted to watch a show about the Oscars about movies we ain't going to? That's the part that got me. It's like, we ain't even buying tickets to your movies. Why the hell would we watch the show where you congratulate somebody on a movie we ain't going to? That make any sense? That's like having a party in your neighborhood and inviting people you don't want in the backyard of your house. I'm sorry, I digress.
It's a physical intervention. We are not going to do a financial market intervention. Maria, you get these price spikes. We got one Sunday 2 weeks ago.
Right.
It was a big price spike. Then we had the largest sell-off in history. And
okay. I want to explain that. When you hear the term sell-off, some people are like, what the hell is a sell-off? What's that mean? Well, it's a big term for manipulation. You see, and we used to call it when I was selling stocks, is pump and dump. Let's see what we can pump up, and now let's dump it, and things crash. The manipulation of the market, the insider trading, all the different things. Hey, we better grab some cash, i.e. profit, sell-off, because you can't make any profit till you actually sell the stuff. And we grab all the money we can, and it drops. And then guess what happens? Now we can go back in because we made it drop and buy some other cheap stuff. And if we buy the other cheap stuff and it goes up and we wait, what do? And we sell it again. It's called a sell-off. People don't know what sell-off means. Right now, I'm telling you, there are going to be a whole lot of people making a whole lot of money on gold and silver. Why? It's been a sell-off. There's been a liquidation. Oh my God, it's been bloating. The price is going to drop. Did you see the movie Trading Places? Yeah. Buy, and it goes back up. And they make a whole ton of money. And you're just sitting here on this pulley while other people are manipulating, and that's what President Trump is trying to stop, is the gross manipulation of finances. Right now, I think silver was like at 68. And when you're thinking of people who have hundreds of millions, billions of dollars to play with, and they get in today at 68, and it goes to, I don't know, 73 on Monday, and it goes up 3 or 4%, 3 or 4% on $100 million, well, you do the math. They call that work. You know, it's just sit there and wait and hit a button. Okay, watch everybody freak out, watch people on TV talk, watch the panicans talk, and watch it drop, and I'm buying now. And now it's going to go back up, and now I'm going to sell. And I might make just 2 or 3%, but 2 or 3% on $100 million or $1 billion is a lot of doggone money. And it's really that simple. You saw the movie Trading Places. Maybe I didn't know Trading Places was going to be a tutorial. Do you remember the movie Trading Places with Dan Aykroyd and Eddie Murphy? When they were going to get the crop report before everybody else got the crop report. And then they switched the crop report and the whole thing pooped the bed. And then they went back on the floor and started buying. By the way, did you notice in that movie that when Eddie Murphy and Dan Aykroyd were buying and selling, nobody exchanged any cash? That's the other thing they don't tell you. You saw at the end of the movie when the Dukes went broke and they had a margin call. What's a margin call? Because they were trading on credit. Nobody pays for any of this stuff. That's the biggest scam in stock market. I'm going to buy gold today at 65. I'm not even paying for it. I'm going to wait till it goes to 70. I'm going to sell it. I'm going to take the profit, and I never even paid for it. It's risky if you aren't part of the game playing, manipulating the money. A lot of people don't know that. What's a margin? You're just going to borrow some money that you never pay back because you're going to get profit because you liquefy and you dump, pump and dump, pump and dump, pump and dump. And you make your money on that little percentage. You can still make a lot of money. Think about it. If you had $100,000, I'll make it even smaller. You had $10,000. Let's make it even smaller. You have $1,000. And you buy $1,000 of X stock, or you buy $1,000 of gold or silver or whatever, and it goes up on Tuesday to, 6%. Now, it doesn't sound like a lot to you because on your $1,000, 6% is just, $60. I didn't make a whole lot of money. I made $60 today. But what if you didn't have to spend that $1,000? What if you just had an IOU and said, put in a buy for, some silver or gold for me, and you make $60 and you didn't spend any money? Now take that number and amplify it times 100 million. And now that $60 turns into 6 million. And you made 6 million in a couple days and you didn't do anything. And then you do it again and again and again. See, these are some of the secrets that they don't tell normal people. More normal people go to work 30, 40, 50 hours a week for 40 years, and then get back, they get the watch and $1,500 a month. They don't even teach it to them in college. I just told you something that some of you are probably like, wait a second. What the hell is a margin? How do you get a margin? Where do you go to get a margin? Are you telling me they're going to let you buy and sell stocks on credit? Yup. And then you get to keep all the profit. Because that's how it works. And so when you're seeing, and the reason why I mean bringing this stuff up is because as you're seeing all this manipulation, it's not meant for most people to even understand what the game is. They don't even know game's being played. They just see this chart numbers going up and down, and they don't realize people are making as much or more on the down. It is better than any sort of form of actual work. You just sit back, you read charts and go, what do you think today is going to happen? Today you're thinking, well, I think oil could go up, so I buy here. But I think it's going to go down next week. Well, then I short it. You make money coming and going. For some reason, it's not taught to people. People who have asked me in real estate, what are you going to do if the market goes bad? Make more money. What? I forget who said it. Rockefeller might have said it. The time to make money is when blood is running through the streets. You make more money in down markets. You make a lot more money because you can profit on people's panic. People sell assets they shouldn't be selling because they just don't understand they're being manipulated. I can't convince you. You have to get that knowledge. You have to get the knowledge to understand how you're being manipulated and how you can research and profit from it.
My 40 years in the market, I always found, especially people who work for me, when they lost a lot of money, they said that there was some mysterious intervention rather than bad trading. So to be clear, we're not intervening in the financial markets. We are supplying the physical markets.
Well, I'm glad that you pointed out the difference in terms of where Brent is and where U.S. crude is, because I was very taken aback when our European friends said we're not going to get involved and send warships to the Strait of Hormuz. We know that particularly Europeans need that strait even more so than the United States, much more, as they are relying on their LNG. And 20% of LNG is passed through, supposed to be passing through that every day. And natural gas has been surging, right? And they need that for electricity. When the Europeans said, this is not my war, this is not our war, did the president discuss what he could answer? I mean, that could, set up the president for saying, well, Ukraine is not my war.
I think the president's been very clear here that he believes that those who are benefiting from these actions in their economies should contribute. And I think over time we will likely see a clarification here that that NATO, maybe some of our Asian allies, will not directly get involved in the fighting as we continue the bombing campaign. I would be surprised that if eventually there isn't some kind of a global coalition to escort ships through the Strait of Hormuz. It'd be very disappointing for those who benefit the most not to do something.
Oh God! I watch this stuff, and I used to be a big movie buff when they made good movies, and I swear this looks like an episode of The Godfather. Not only will I not put up the money for the license, Senator, but you're gonna put it up for me. Because that's what he just did. Not only is this good for you, now you got to come over and pay for it. And you're going to have to pay Trump in America for what we did to liberate you. Cuba's about to find that out. It literally is like watching The Godfather. I've been a longtime fan of the Godfather movies, and I had to stop watching them because De Niro pisses me off. But when you see this stuff, it's like a Hollywood script. And the whole thing with it is, and I hate to keep saying it, is the American people are being used as pawns. They're being used by the government. They're being used by the media. They're being used by all kinds of different factors because of one simple thing: the lack of knowledge of what you're seeing happening. It's not about a bomb. Go back to what it all goes back to. And maybe I'll do that in the show tomorrow. What the real, what down here, way under the microphone, way down here, what's really happening? What's this really all about? Is it about the nuclear stuff that Iran was going to do? Yeah, they're bad guys. Is it about taking the oil? Yeah, because that was part of it. But why do we need the oil? Tick, 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 tick. Why is the oil so important? Tick, 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 tick. I'll answer that tomorrow. But I want you guys to start thinking at this point, what is so darn important about this oil? Why is it so important at this point? The environmentalists look stupid. They realize, the same environmentalists now realize how important this oil is. And how stupid they look thinking that, fossil fuels, we're going to get rid of fossil fuels. You're seeing the entire world go, I need my oil. You haven't heard one country go, you know what? We're good if the Straits of Hormuz isn't open. We're just going to build some windmills. We'll be fine. Go ahead and put in the chat if you've seen a country say that. If you've seen even one country come out and say, well, we don't want oil. So this is actually, you've accelerated where we want to go. We don't want oil. Nope, don't want it. We're going to put up windmills and have a bunch of people riding bikes all day. I don't know. That's what we were told by Kamala and Joe, right? We're going to do away with fossil fuels. Why is nobody on the planet talking about doing away with the fossil fuels? It would be very easy. Let's just put a big old blockade at the end of the Straits of Hormuz and nobody gets any oil. Problem solved. We're all doing windmills. You got your nirvana. That's what you fought for. That's what the new green scam was. You wanted to do away. Bernie, we got to do away with fossil fuel. Okay, we're done. Nobody has any oil. Y'all happy? Why is it that nobody has said that? Not a single country, not one has said, hey, listen, this is a good time for us to just start being, oil free. They're not talking about it on TV. You should be thinking about it. Why was the oil so important?
And of course, the Prime Minister of Japan is at the White House today. You will be meeting with her, and I know this is a very close relationship. Are you expecting Japan to change its stance on this and perhaps get more involved in this fight and support the United States?
But again, they don't have to be involved in the actual bombing campaign. But I would expect, and that Japan, who gets, I can't remember, 95% of their crude supplies from the Gulf, would be very interested in making sure that these supplies, they are safe. The Japanese Navy is one of the three great navies in the world. They have some of the best minesweepers and mine detection capabilities. So, I think we're going to have a very good discussion with the Prime Minister. President Trump has an excellent relationship with her. She very popular, and with his endorsement, she recorded a record in post-war Japan history.
Hold on. Wait a second. So President Trump's endorsement of a Japanese politician allowed her to have the biggest election in history of the country of Japan. How is that? How is that possible? How did President Trump's endorsement of a Japanese politician allow her to have the biggest win in their history? Another thing you should probably look up, because these people just come out and they tell you this stuff. And if you don't say, wait a second, how could that be? You see, something else just happened. Again, what you have to watch the moves President Trump makes. And in addition to finding out why the oil is so important, which I'll tell you tomorrow, the other thing he did without doing anything really is let other people in other countries expose the insanity of that Green New Deal scam thing that other countries were trying to do. He already tore down DEI. He already tore down the idiocy of transformers. He's already torn down and shown people this is how things can be if you don't let newcomers into your country. And now he just got the entire world to say, no, we need oil. When literally 2 years ago, we were going down, you can't even have a gas-powered car. You got to have everything EV. What? It seemed like a distant memory at this point without really doing much. He has shown the world that this entire green energy thing was a complete scam. Everything they pushed into for, everything the Democrats wanted, all the environmentalists in Europe and other countries now are sitting back and going, we got had. Yeah, because you have you got the perfect opportunity to go green right now. You can go green cold turkey, turn everything off. No, I can't do that. Okay, well, just turn it off until you generate enough power through the windmills. Can't do that. Oh, maybe you can do like a nuclear reactor and create your power. You won't need any oil. No, we're not ready for that. Okay, well, how long is it going to take? I don't know, 10, 20 years. Oh, so what are you going to tell your people right now who can't go into the kitchen and get something out the refrigerator? He exposed the lunacy of the green stuff in 18 days. Let that sink in, which nobody's talking about. In 18 days, President Trump has exposed to the world the complete banality, the lunacy of that whole green energy scam. Nobody can ever believe it again. If in 18 days the entire world is freaking out about oil coming from the Strait of Hormuz, then you just dropped your pants in front of everybody. But nobody's talking about it.
In terms of her margin in the parliament. So, she's in a very strong position. She's very pro-U.S. I think we're going to have a very good discussion today.
And of course, she was one of the first, when this first started, to say she wanted to unleash oil into the market to pressure prices. She's been supportive in terms of understanding the issues here at hand where oil prices are spiking.
She's been very supportive. Yeah. And the Japanese have a very large strategic petroleum reserve. My guess is that they will begin releasing in excess of what the IEA equivalent release would have been. So, I think they're going to supply the market. And again, they're a good ally, and the relationship with the president is very good. On the other hand, we have the Chinese, who have once again proven themselves to be unreliable suppliers. This is why the U.S., we are determined. We don't want to decouple via trade, but we do need a strategic decoupling. And what the Chinese have stopped exporting during the Iran conflict here is they've cut off all refined product exports to the rest of the world. So people who are depending on them, countries who are depending on them for jet fuel, other refined products, they are now in the lurch, and the U.S. continues to export energy.
Yeah, they wiped out the other drug dealer and the other 5 families, and we've just taken control. We are the exporter. Reading between the lines, one of the things you have to also understand, which is why I said pay close attention and take notes, if he's saying this stuff publicly, where are we going in private? When President Trump and Scott Bessent and Marco Rubio and J.D. Vance and Pete Hegseth turned off the cameras in that meeting, what did they discuss when the cameras are off? What are we going to hear later in the day, maybe tomorrow, next week? If this is what Scott's saying in public now, this is just the iceberg, the tip of the iceberg. What are they not telling us that they're getting ready to do? That's the problem with today's media. They don't think like that. Trump keeps telling them. You keep hearing it. What tells you something else is happening? What do you hear in these press conferences that should make you understand there's a head fake going on? It's very simple. He goes, why would I tell you? That should be a slap in the face. Wait a minute. So there is something happening. Why in the world would I tell you? Who are you? Why would I tell you what I'm about to talk to about the Prime Minister of Japan? Why would I tell you what we're getting ready to do in Iran? Who are you? Podcaster? Panicking? Black Pillar? You have no idea what's about to happen. None. But I've just told you something's happening. Why would I tell you? So when you're hearing Scott Bessent talk like this on television, that message has already been filtered and approved. And there's still a lot more. That's why I said pay attention, because you're writing this down and you're like, okay, so we're going to be basically choking off China, and we're going to tell China this is what we need, and what you're waiting for is when it actually happens. And so when I sit back, even with my financial planning for Robin and the family, I go, okay, honey, here's what's getting ready to happen. Let's position ourselves so when this happens, because he's giving you the breadcrumbs, but he's not showing you the bakery. And Trump laughs at these people in press conferences. We laugh at it. Why would I tell you? That is, to me, and I haven't said it before, to me, that's the most chilling statement he makes in these press conferences. So what are you going to do about X, Y, and Z? Why the hell would I tell you? At that point, if I'm a reporter in the White House and I'm like, oh, so something else is coming then. I don't know. You tell me.
Yes, and the president, of course, postponing that trip to China, and he is going to be here focused on the war. Yes,
I want to be clear. I want to be clear on the postponement of that trip. Postponement of that trip was the logistics during this conflict. President Trump believes that it's important for him to stay here in the United States, not travel abroad. It had nothing to do with an ask to the Chinese to get involved with the Straits of Hormuz. So it was a decision by the president to move the date out.
Yes, I understand that, sir, and I think that's completely practical. I understand that fully. The president needs to be here in Washington, in the United States. When a war with Iran is undergoing. But let's put that aside for a moment, because China has been complicit the whole time. And we know that China has been supporting Iran for a long time, buying 90% of Iranian exports, 90%, helping in terms of components, helping in a number of ways. So did this issue come up when you had your conversations in Paris last week with your Chinese counterparts, that China has obviously been supporting our number one adversary for a long time?
Well, Maria, you put your finger on something that, Iran is the head of the snake for global terrorism. They are the leading state sponsor of terrorism. And the Chinese have been buying 95% of the Iranian oil. So they were funding the leading sponsor of global terrorism. They were getting a discount by buying that oil. When we go through as we plan to unsanction the Iranian oil, that oil will go up to a market price, and it will end up in places other than China. It can flow into Malaysia, Singapore, Indonesia, Japan, India, who have been good actors in this.
You're a good voice, Malaysia. We're going to give you some. Oh, you're good over there, Indonesia. You can have some. China, you've been very, very bad. And you've been getting a discount. So we're not going to hurt you too bad. We'll help you get what you need. The discount's over. You're going to pay full price. You're going to pay market price. I'm making you an offer you can't refuse. You get nothing, or you pay full price. That's pretty much what he just said.
And I wonder, the president made an interesting point recently. I don't know if it was flippant or not, when he said we'd like to take over the Strait of Hormuz at some point. Iran apparently is working on a law to charge ships for the Hormuz safe passage. Would the president consider that in terms of once you do get control of the strait, start charging ships that travel through it?
Again, This is nonsense, Maria. For the regime, we're back to the stuff of Baghdad Bob here. The regime is in collapse, and the people are starting to turn against them. We're starting to see defections. At Treasury, we now know where the Iranian leadership bank accounts are, and those are being frozen. And we will hold them and see who comes forward.
Did you catch that? That's a new nugget we hadn't heard. So wait a second. Not only are you bombing the hell out of them and making them run through tunnels, now you also got their money. We've frozen their accounts. I haven't heard that reported anywhere. That's nonsense, Maria. They can't do anything. Not only have we blown them to bits, we also now control their fake money. I mean, they're hiding where they hid their money. How the hell did you find their money? You got to imagine over the course of, I don't know, 10, 20 years or so that the Iranians are putting money here or there and putting it in bolt holes. How did you find the bank accounts that they had the money in? And how did you get the people where the money was being held to freeze the accounts? They've been watching everything. When you step back and think, wait a second. So Trump just took office in January of 2025, right? All right. So he didn't have access to all this information. So over the last year, they've been tracing money transfers all over the place. That's what he just said. We froze their money. How the hell did you know where? Oh, because you've been planning this. Oh, Trump didn't have a plan. Obviously, he did. They've been looking at these people running around. Oh, he's putting his. Oh, yeah, they just made a deposit there. Made a deposit there. Let's go in and take their money. See, the oil's a product. The oil, you got to sell the oil before you can make the money from the sale of the oil. The cash is already money you got. The cash is the money you got from selling 90% of your oil to Japan and China and everywhere else. So all we had to do is sit back and watch where you made the deposits. What do you think hurt more? You know right now, if somebody just, you got a text and saying your account's been frozen, that's when you just go, what? Yeah, we already got your money. I blow you up. Don't go outside real quick. You're gone. So now we're blowing you up and we're taking your money. But we're losing. Okay, because I'm pretty sure nobody has frozen American accounts, but we're the ones losing, right, Candace?
In terms of defections, but we're starting to see defections throughout the regime, and that's how this ends. So, the idea of some tolling arrangement is ridiculous. What President Trump is talking about, and to be clear, he has focused on Kharg Island since 1988, before the Shah fell, that the U.S. should be focused on that. He is laser focused on it. As I said, there was a bombing campaign last week. The military assets on Kharg Island were destroyed. And the other thing I can tell you, if you're an oil worker, you don't want to work there. So all the oil workers there are being coerced to stay there. And, we will see what happens with whether that eventually becomes a U.S. asset.
What? What did he just hint at? Is that why President Trump was pissed at Israel yesterday for bombing? Hey, man, don't mess with the pipes. Don't do that. You hear what he just said? We will see soon enough if that becomes a U.S. You might want to hear that again, because I was like, you got to be kidding me. Was that just a little bit of a
should be focused on that. He is laser focused on it. As I said, there was a bombing campaign last week. The military assets on Kharg Island were destroyed. And the other thing I can tell you, if you're an oil worker, you don't want to work there. So all the oil workers there are being coerced to stay there. And, we will see what happens with whether that eventually becomes a U.S. asset.
I told you there are all kinds of nuggets in here. Sometimes people think, Barry, why do you keep interrupting? Because you need to hear it. You can't be on your phone. What did he just say? We'll see real soon if that becomes a U.S. asset. How exactly is that going to happen? We're going to take the oil. For him to say that in public, you have to understand what he just said. We'll see if that becomes a U.S. asset. I'm pretty sure I know the difference between an asset and a liability. Asset meaning we control or own or take, whatever. And he just said to the world, yeah, we might take it. Ours. Put the big red, white, and blue with stars on it. Boom. Plant the flag. This is ours. Now, China, you buy from us. Wow. I hope you guys grasp that.
What would be your best assessment or expectation for the impact of all of this on the economy, Secretary? Of course, we've got oil prices spiking now. We understand that your expectation is that this is a temporary situation. But you have had growth, deregulation, economic issues that are positive for the growth of this country on its economy as your number one priority before this conflict. How does that change?
Well, again, Maria, I think we have to get the American people and our entire government back in the mindset of there is no prosperity without security. There's no prosperity without security. Any prosperity without security is an illusion. So
I know you guys keep saying, Barry, you see the end goal here? People keep comparing President Trump to other presidents, but you don't hear and you haven't heard other people in other administrations say the kind of things they're saying. Bottom line is, I want America to be prosperous. They keep saying it. Not my words. I'm not making it up. Here, you can hear them say it again.
Economy. Secretary, of course, we've got oil prices spiking now. We understand that your expectation is that this is a temporary situation. But you have had growth, deregulation, economic issues that are positive for the growth of this country on its economy as your number one priority before this conflict. How does that change?
Well, again, Maria, I think we have to get the American people and our entire government back in the mindset of there is no prosperity without security. There's no.
So his words right there, we have to get back your mindset. He said the government and the American people. That's your charge at this point. Get your mindset, do whatever you need to do, rub your forehead, let it sink in. I can be prosperous. I've been told for so long I can't be prosperous. I need to work 40 hours, 50, 60 hours a week. I need to do that for the next 30 or 40 years. And I'm on a hamster wheel. And then I get a nice little watch and some cupcakes, and then they send me home. Because that mindset has to be learned. You haven't been taught, for the most part. Most people haven't been taught about being prosperous. Go to school, maybe go to college, get a job, work for 30 or 40 years, and then die. Or move to Florida and go play tennis. Or pickleball. Sorry, SV. That's it. Well, what do I do along the way? Is there any way I can make sure so that 30 years from now, I'm not a retiree, I'm an active person living a great life? How about maybe I only need to work for 10 years? Maybe I only need to work for 15 years. Who gave us the recipe that you guys need to be on a hamster wheel for the rest of your life? Where'd that come from? He just told you. We have to get the American people to understand that you have to be prosperous. What if prosperity was always the goal? Some of you guys probably thinking to yourself, what if when you're a little tyke or a little girl, and you're playing hopscotch or whatever, and daddy says, I'm going to show you how to be prosperous. What's prosperous, Dad? Prosperous is where if I'm not here or your mom's not here, you're good on your own. Well, Grandpa says we need to get a job and work for 40 years. No, I'm going to show you prosperity. And this is what the hard question is, because at this point you have to look in the mirror and say, have you been taught prosperity? Probably not. Then the next question is, why not? Then the third question is, how do I learn to be prosperous and understand a significant prerequisite of prosperity is safety. And you hearing the Secretary of the Treasury, the money guy from the government, telling you that's what our plan is. Our plan is to try and show Americans that prosperity is the way to be. And too many people who, that unknown is just like, oh my goodness, it's bad. No, it's not bad. I equate it, I told Robin, I equate prosperity talking, not like Creflo Dollar, not like some preacher. I equate it to like getting in the pool in like February and March if you don't have the heater on. You're like, ooh, that's cold. Just get in. It's kind of cold. Get in. And you put your legs in because, ours is heated. And you're like, oh, it still feels like it's warm. Yeah, get in the pool. You can't look at the water and go, it's too cold. I can't do that. It's cold out here. Get in the hot tub. When are you going to get in the hot tub? When are you going to get in the pool? When are you going to say to yourself, I deserve this? And not feel bad to say it. I deserve prosperity. It is inherent. And I think that's one of the problems we're seeing with the Trump administration, because the more people who understand where we're headed, the harder it is for the Democrats to say, you can't do that. You got to give all your money to the Po peoples and the Somalians.
Prosperity without security. Any prosperity without security is an illusion. So now President Trump...
Damn, I'm going to get that on a T-shirt. We need to have T-shirts that say that. It's an illusion. It's never going to happen. I mean, come on, Scott, give me that again. Give me that again.
On its economy as your number one priority before this conflict, how does that change?
Well, again, Maria, I think we have to get the American people and our entire government back in the mindset of there is no prosperity without security. There's no prosperity without security. Any prosperity without security is an illusion. So now President Trump, by doing this, we will be more secure than ever. As Vice President Vance said yesterday, this is short term. We are going to get to the other side of this. And Maria, I think it's a decided lack of imagination, both market participants and the foreign policy commentariat blob. Let's imagine what this looks like on the other side.
Right.
With Maduro gone in Venezuela, it looks like Cuba, that there may be very slow motion regime change there. Iran and this horrible sponsor of global terrorism, their military is degraded. They are unable to project power. And then, at some point, Russia-Ukraine will get solved. And, I think gas prices, energy prices will be lower than they were on February 28th for an extended period of time. I've met with the many bank CEOs, with real economy CEOs, and I can tell you the economy is strong, the consumer is strong, so the economy went into this conflict in a very good place. We did it from a position of strength, not a position of weakness.
Right, I understand, but we were talking about 5% growth, close to it in the fourth quarter. Are we still talking about 3% growth for 2026?
Maria, I think it can be above that. I think it can be non-inflationary growth. And again, this is temporary.
He even had her going, what? Look at her face. What did you just say? Yeah, it's going to be even better than that. Maria, very experienced, great woman talking about economic matters. And look at her face as he said that. You think we can get back to? No, we're going past that. Stunned even her. Where we're going, we don't need roads.
Move beyond this, and we will come out on the other side, and the growth will be better, and our security will be real, not illusory.
Yeah, and I appreciate very much your focus on national security, the president's agenda on national security. I understand that very clearly. Have you changed your assessment of tariffs in the face of all of this? Because, of course, we've got these dueling Section 301 investigations underway. China is among those that you're looking at in a number of ways in terms of this results of the IEEPA decision from the Supreme Court. Should we expect any change in your tariff strategy given the spikes that we've seen in commodities like oil, like fertilizer, et cetera, et cetera?
Not at all. And Maria, to be clear, there are no tariffs on nitrogen-based fertilizer, which the farmer in your previous segment talked about. Secretary Rollins will likely be making an announcement on fertilizer in the next few days. And the tariff investigations via Section 301 continue. USTR Jameson Greer will be doing their studies, and we will get the results of those in July, and we will see what happens. But the expectation, if the studies are complete, successful, would be that the tariff regime would be under a new authority and unchanged. But again, that's contingent on successful 301 investigations.
Secretary, before you go, let me end on the Federal Reserve, because we understand that the confirmation hearing and the confirmation process for Kevin Warsh is pretty much on hold as this investigation continues into Jay Powell. You know the facts after James Boasberg reversed or said that he did not approve of those subpoenas on Jay Powell, causing Jeanine Pirro to say, I'm going to appeal, sparking Tom Tillis to say, well, then I'm digging in and I'm going to keep this up. You heard what the chairman said yesterday. He's got no intention of stepping down or leaving the Fed altogether until this investigation is closing. Has the president made any decision in terms of ending this probe into Jay Powell so that you can get Kevin Warsh moving into the chairman's spot?
Well, Maria, to be clear, it is not the president's decision. It is Jeanine Pirro, the U.S. attorney for D.C., and I'm not.
These guys are very good. They don't take the bait. They know when they get asked questions, if it's out of your purview, make sure you say whose purview it is. It's not President Trump's decision to charge Jerome Powell. And she should have known that, but he was smart enough to use the tennis racket and just go right back.
I'm going to comment on an ongoing investigation. We'll see where this goes. But what is going to happen? Kevin Warsh has been up on the Hill meeting senators. The meetings are going very well. There will be a hearing. What will be held if Senator Tillis insists on waiting until the investigation ends? Then what will be held up is the vote. And Chair Powell, it's his decision to stay as a governor or not. And historic, I would tell you, that would be out of historic norms. Only one former chair has stayed on as a governor, and the President of the United States asked him to stay. I can't imagine President Trump's going to ask Chair Powell to stay on as a governor.
Right. Secretary, it's good to have you this morning. Thanks for taking all of that on. We so appreciate your leadership, sir. Thank you.
Maria, good to be with you.
All right. Secretary Scott Bessent.
So right now, it appears that this is coming to a head very quickly. Breaking news that comes out is that Iran, or whoever thinks they still have power, says they're going to close the Strait of Hormuz. Good luck. Good luck, and understand what you're about to see happen. And no uncertain terms, now they're going to take it. Now you are going to see President Trump with Middle East allies. They're going to go in and take the strait. It's over. Say your prayers, whatever bunker you're in, it's about to go down. And then, of course, what you're going to see, well, you should tell me in the chat what you're going to see. If you know right now that Iran has declared that they're going to close the Strait of Hormuz, what's the next thing you're going to see? Oil prices going to go up. It's all reactionary. Everything they do is reactionary. Let me tell you real quick, because before I go to SV, and then we're going to do Pete Hegseth. So let me tell you about Tax Network USA. Do you owe back taxes or have unfiled tax returns? Or have you filed every year but still keep owing more? Did you retire and suddenly get hit with a tax bill you didn't expect? Are you a business owner with a messy books and a balance you can't afford? Maybe you pulled money from your 401k or your IRA early, and now the IRS wants its piece. However your tax issue started, the outcome is the same. Your balance is not going down. Penalties grow, interest compounds on top of it, and many of you are about to owe again for this upcoming tax year in about 15 days. And you got no plan in place. Stop what you're doing and call Tax Network USA. The IRS is not waiting. The IRS is enforcing collections through wage garnishments, bank levies, and property seizures. They can even file for you without your consent. This is where Tax Network USA comes in. With over 15 years in business, there hasn't been a tax case they haven't seen or resolved. They specialize in tax controversies and help taxpayers nationwide get back on track by resolving back taxes and unfiled returns once and for all. Whatever you owe, $10,000 or $10 million, hopefully not, their team has resolved over $1 billion in tax debt. They can do the same for you. They can do it privately, but you have to call now. They are offering a free investigative call with the IRS. After that investigation, they put a clear case plan in place to resolve your personal tax problem and your issues to get you back on track. This is about using your legal rights to take control before the government sets the terms for you. Don't wait for another IRS letter or a frozen bank account. Call 866-686-1377. That's 866-686-1377, or visit tnusa.com/Barry, or you can just click the link in the description below. SB, brother, what you got for us? Anything?
Well, I got a question for you.
Go.
Do you still have the Trump sneakers, the gold ones?
You saw that, huh? See, I was going to use that for tonight because I wanted to do a whole piece on it.
I can go to something else.
No. Where was it? Hold on a second before you say it.
Okay.
I swear, everyone, we did not have that planned, but I know exactly what he's talking about because I saw it on True Social and I was like, yeah, baby.
Great minds think alike, Barry.
All right, you're going to be muted for a second so I can show everybody what we're talking about. Donald Trump posted this, right? And when, hold on. When I saw this post this morning, I was like, you got to be kidding me. It says rare Trump sneakers listed for $180,000 at SneakerCon in Saudi Arabia. $180,000, baby. You know I got to make some calls. I got to find out. 180 grand? Oh, oh, I didn't know I was sitting on some other kind of gold.
That's some serious bank, Barry. Share the wealth. Hey, share the prosperity, brother.
Those sneakers must have been signed by Trump, or I don't know. Maybe they had actual poured gold in them. 180 grand per pair of sneakers.
That's crazy.
Oh my gosh! What else you got?
Well, on a little serious note, breaking news: Chuck Norris has been hospitalized for a medical emergency in Hawaii, according to TMZ. This came after his 86th birthday. I'm not sure if it's anything real serious, but yes, he was hospitalized.
Chuck
I didn't know he was that old, to be honest.
I thought he was older. I thought he was 88-ish or something like that.
He could probably still kick my butt.
Oh yeah, I'm sure he still has it. Have you noticed that once again Fox News has turned into the missing persons network? So they went away from Savannah Guthrie's mom, and now it's like everything's about this missing Alabama kid in Spain or something. I mean, it's like the missing persons network instead of telling people what they really need to know. What else you got?
Exactly.
Anything?
Another small thing here. Breaking Italian artist Sergio Frenari. I don't know if you know who he is. He's being praised nationwide because he's installing multiple Charlie Kirk memorials across New York City. The liberals tried and failed to block him, but he says, I'm doing it, and he keeps doing it. That's pretty cool.
That is pretty cool. By the way, I don't know if you know this, SB, but a while back, before he got shot, Charlie Kirk told me personally, I got a text from him saying that Candace Owens was bat poop crazy. I mean, I'm just saying, I got that text from him. Have you noticed how much people are debasing this guy's name? It's amazing to me. It's like, oh, Charlie told me this before he died. And I'm like, it's insane. You're saying something about a guy who had a horrific death, and you've got no way to verify it, and he can't speak for himself. If you were a friend, I hope his entire family just completely distances themselves from you at this point. I mean, why would you use a dead person's name like that? Just for your own benefit? Absolutely crazy.
Yeah, that's sick. That's sick.
Really sick.
Well, that's all I have for you right now. So,
all right, we'll be back
later.
we're going to go to Pete Hegseth. I'll be back in 90 seconds.
Welcome back to Fanfare with Barry Cunningham.
Well, good morning. Yesterday at Dover Air Force Base, President Trump, the chairman, and I stood in solemn silence as heroes came home. Flag-draped caskets, we honored them. We grieved with their families, and we listened. What I heard through tears, through hugs, through strength, and through unbreakable resolve was the same from family after family. They said, finish this. Honor their sacrifice. Do not waver. Do not stop until the job is done. My response, along with that of the president, was simple. Of course, we will finish this. We will honor their sacrifice. Their sacrifice only steals our commitment. I wear this bracelet. Staff Sergeant Jorge Oliveira, he was one of my sergeants, or one of my specialists in Guantanamo Bay. He deployed later to Afghanistan, where he was killed on 19 October 2011. Killed 10 years after 9/11, 15 years ago. He was one of the 1%, the best of America. Not just a guardsman, but a law enforcement officer back home and a family man. I remember him every day just like so many other men and women of our generation and previous generations who wear bracelets like this. Just as we will always remember those lost in this conflict, their names are now etched into our mission and into the soul of a grateful nation. I stand here today speaking to you, the American people, not through filters, not through reporters, not through cable news spin. A dishonest and anti-Trump press will stop at nothing, we know this at this point, to downplay progress, amplify every cost, and call into question every step. Sadly, TDS is in their DNA. They want President Trump to fail. But you, the American people, know better. Yes, there are reporters in front of me, but they are not our audience today. It's you, the good, decent, patriotic American people. You, the hardworking, tax-paying, God-fearing American patriots. The media here, not all of it, but much of it, wants you to think, just 19 days into this conflict, that we're somehow spinning toward an endless abyss, or a forever war, or a quagmire. Nothing could be further from the truth. Hear it from me, one of hundreds of thousands who fought in Iraq and Afghanistan, who watched previous foolish politicians like Bush, Obama, and Biden squander American credibility. This is not those wars. President Trump knows better. Epic fury is different. It's laser focused. It's decisive. Our objectives, given directly from our America First president, remain exactly what they were on day one. These are not the media's objectives, not Iran's objectives, not new objectives, our objectives, unchanged, on target, and on plan. Destroy missiles, launchers, and Iran's defense industrial base so they cannot rebuild, destroy their navy, and Iran never gets a nuclear weapon. Our objectives from day one. To the patriotic members of the press, nobody can deliver perfection in wartime. This building knows that more than anyone. But report the reality. We're winning decisively and on our terms. Iran is a vast country, and just like Hamas and their tunnels, they've poured any aid, any economic development, humanitarian aid into tunnels and rockets. That's what they did with Hamas. Iran has funneled decades of state resources, not to their people, but into missiles and drones and proxies and buried facilities. But we are hunting them down, methodically, ruthlessly, and overwhelmingly, like no other military in the world can do, and the results speak for themselves. To date, we've struck over 7,000 targets across Iran and its military infrastructure. That is not incremental. That is overwhelming force applied with precision. And again, today will be the largest strike package yet, just like yesterday was. As I've said from day one, our capabilities continue to build, Iran's continue to degrade. We're hunting and striking death and destruction from above. Iran's air defenses flattened. Iran's defense industrial base, the factories, the production lines that feed their missile and drone programs, being overwhelmingly destroyed. We've hit hundreds of their defense industrial bases directly. Their ability to manufacture new ballistic missiles has probably taken the hardest hit of all. Ballistic missile attacks against our forces down 90% since the start of the conflict. Same with one-way attack UAVs. Think kamikaze drones, down 90%. Now, the Iranians will still shoot, we know that, but they would shoot a lot more if they could, but they can't. The last job anyone in the world wants right now? Senior leader for the IRGC, or besiege. Temp jobs, all of them. And to borrow a page from Admiral Ernest King in World War II, we've decided to share the ocean with Iran. We've given them the bottom half. We've damaged or sunk over 120 of their Navy ships, with battle damage assessments pending for many more. You see, oftentimes we have to wait a few days on battle damage assessment to get the real number. Their surface fleet is no longer a factor. Their submarines, they once had 11, are gone. Their military ports are crippled. Iran has terrorized the United States and our interests for 47 years. Their core industries, not steel or agriculture or tourism, their core industries are state-sponsored terrorism, proxy militias, underground networks, ballistic missiles, and a violent, messianic, Islamist ideology chasing some sort of apocalyptic endgame. A regime like that, refusing to abandon its nuclear ambitions, is not just a regional problem. It's a direct threat to America, to freedom, and to civilization. The world, the Middle East, our ungrateful allies in Europe, even segments of our own press should be saying one thing to President Trump. Thank you. Thank you for the courage to stop this terror state from holding the world hostage with missiles while building or attempting to build a nuclear bomb. Thank you for doing the work of the free world. Yesterday's ceremony reminded us why we fight. Not for nation building or democracy promotion, but to crush direct threats to America, Americans, and our interests. We fight to win, and we are winning on our terms, following our objectives. My 13-year-old son popped into my office last night while I was editing these remarks. He asked about the war and the families I met at Dover. And I looked at him and I said, they died for you, son, so that your generation doesn't have to deal with a nuclear Iran. It's the truth. And they did. So to the families who said, finish this, we will. And I say the same to every American who wants peace through strength. May Almighty God continue to bless our troops in this fight. And again, to the American people, please pray for them. Every day, on bended knee, with your family, in your schools, in your churches, in the name of Jesus Christ. To the troops, keep going, and Godspeed. Over to you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. Ladies and gentlemen, good morning, and thank you all for being here. I also had the honor yesterday, as the Secretary said, of traveling up to Dover with the President to welcome home our 6 fallen. It was an honor and a privilege for me to be there and to say thank you to their families. And I want to mention their names this morning. From the 6th Aerial Refueling Wing out of MacDill Air Force Base, Florida, but stationed as part of an active associate unit at Birmingham, Alabama, Major Alex Klenner, John Alex Klenner, Major Ariana Savino, she was posthumously promoted from captain to major, and Technical Sergeant Ashley Pruitt, the boom operator on that crew. From the 121st Aerial Fueling Ring, Ohio Air National Guard out of Rickenbacker Air National Guard Base in Columbus, Ohio, Captain Seth Koval, Captain Curtis Angst, and now Master Sergeant Tyler Simmons, who was also promoted in the boom operator on that crew. To a person and every family member I spoke with yesterday, they all shared that their family members loved serving, they loved being part of a great team and a crew, and they loved airplanes and aviation. Our nation's tanker crews really are unsung heroes, incredible warriors who put their lives on the line so we can continue to take the fight to an enemy. I've personally witnessed their courage and tenacity many times, from the morning of September 11th, where they answered my call for some help, to the skies over foreign countries where they've come forward out of their safe tanker track to give me gas when I simply could not leave a ground force that was engaged in a firefight. They've answered the call and come forward time and time and time again. I'm filled with incredible pride and gratitude for all that the tanker crews do, our pilots, our boom operators, and the maintainers. And to the families of our 6 fallen, know that we share your grief. Our nation will never forget their sacrifice, and we will never forget their names. Our entire joint force mourns with you today, and will continue to remember their incredible gift of a great example for all of us. Now let me turn to an operations update. U.S. CENTCOM remains on plan to achieve our military objectives and remain unrelenting in our pursuit of Iranian missile capabilities, UAV capabilities, and their Navy, and as the Secretary said, their industrial base. Each day we continue to attack deeper into Iranian territory. As reported by U.S. Central Command yesterday, the U.S. military dropped 5,000-pound penetrator weapons into underground storage facilities, storing coastal defense cruise missiles and other support equipment. These weapons are bespokely designed to get through concrete and/or rocks and function after penetrating those barriers. We continue to hunt and kill mine storage facilities and naval ammunition depots. We continue to hunt and kill afloat assets, including more than 120 vessels and 44 mine layers, and the pressure will continue. We're flying further to the east now and penetrating deeper into Iranian airspace to hunt and kill one-way attack garrisons, destroying Iran's ability to project power outside of its borders. The A-10 Warthog is now in the fight across the southern flank and is hunting and killing fast attack watercraft in the Straits of Hormuz. In addition, AH-64 Apaches have joined the fight on the southern flank, and they continue to work on the southern side, and that includes some of our allies who are using Apaches to handle one-way attack drones. In Iraq, AH-64s have been striking against Iranian-aligned militia groups to make sure that we suppress any threat in Iraq against U.S. forces or U.S. interests. And we remain focused on pursuit of any platform that Iran could field to harm Americans or our partners. Last Friday, Admiral Cooper and the CENTCOM team conducted precision strikes against more than 90 targets on Karg Island, which included all of their military-only infrastructure, which included air defenses, naval base, mine storage, and deployment facilities. And as the Secretary mentioned, we continue to strike against Iran's defense industrial base and will continue to do so. Today, I want to continue my theme of talking about members of our incredible joint force. Today, I want to talk about some exceptional airmen who are engaged in the fight daily. United States Air Force, Air Force Reserve, and Air National Guard crews within our bomber force. The B-1s, B-2s, and B-52s, and the airmen on the ground who maintain and load these weapon systems. They are the backbone of America's long-range strike capability, and their contributions to Epic Fury have been decisive. Assigned to STRATCOM under Admiral Rich Correll and supported by TRANSCOM, the tanker force that we've talked about, under the command of General Randall Reed, every mission is designed to achieve overwhelming outcomes on behalf of the United States and our allies. Last weekend, I had the chance to go out and see some of our deployed bomber forces, the B-1 and B-52 crews, and I had a chance to sit down with some young aviators and maintainers and ask them, how do you feel? Tell me about your typical day. And these are crews comprised of between 2 and 5 airmen, 2 on the B-2s, 5 on the B-52s, and 4 in the B-1s out there. Some of these Americans are in their early or mid-20s, and we give them the gift of this incredible responsibility, hundreds of thousands of pounds of aircraft, and they take off and go do our work as required. Their mission actually begins the day prior when they're given a target or a bunch of targets, and they begin to study those targets, look at what are the effects required, what are the weapons required to get there, how will we program these weapons, what is the weather, what is the tanker flow. It's an incredibly complex problem that we give each and every one of these crews, and they work it over the period of 24 hours prior, get some rest, and then step out the door to go fly. The last thing they do is they check all of their equipment, their oxygen mask, survival gear, load pistols, and get ready to go. They crank the jets about an hour prior to takeoff and then launch into the daylight, doing their pre-flight checks, and as the kids say, lock in and prepare to go to war, sometimes on a long and stressful journey. During the flight, they're surrounded by technology and capabilities, and they'll do multiple aerial refueling efforts across tankers on the way to the AOR, area of responsibility, either coming from the States or coming from a forward deployed basing. And I will tell you, as a fighter pilot, getting gas is a lot easier in an F-16 than it is in a B-1, B-2, or a B-52, where you are handling this airplane. It is a physical thing, unlike a fighter that's a lot easier. And they stay on that boom for sometimes up to 30 minutes, taking hundreds of thousands of pounds of gas. It is a physical, demanding thing to take gas, and they do it multiple times on the way there, and they do it multiple times on the way home. As they enter the operating area, they bring the entirety of America's joint force together to go do the things that we've tasked them to do, to put bombs on time, on target, with the proper effects. And I know they're feeling a range of emotions, but the thing the American people should take away from it is they're filled with a focus that is incredibly impressive. And they have fear, of course, but their bigger fear is, dear God, please don't let me screw this up, the warrior's prayer that we all have in our souls. In the days of epic fury, they were shooting, as we've talked about in this room, a lot of standoff weapons. Now we've switched and rolled, as I mentioned last week, to stand-in weapons. And behind each and every one of them are incredible maintainers and weapons builders who go out there and make sure these aircraft and their weapon systems are ready to go. These airplanes are so big that they're not in hangars. They're out in the cold, out in the snow, out in the rain. The bombs are being built outside for protection and to make sure that it's safe, and they do it 24/7, 365. It's not comfortable work, but when you go spend just a minute with these incredibly young Americans who are so motivated, you cannot come away from that exchange not being hopeful for America's future. It is simply awesome. And we hand these Americans, young Americans, incredible and weighty responsibility, and they deliver every single time. Quietly, with professionalism and humility, doing the things that we ask them to do. In conclusion, we will continue major combat operations. As the Secretary said, we continue to get busier. I know the Secretary and I share that we're incredibly proud of 2.8 million members of our joint force. I am personally, and we are personally grateful for the tenacity and professionalism of the brave men and women who serve inside STRATCOM, CENTCOM, SPACECOM, CYBERCOM, TRANSCOM, and the rest of the joint force. And I'll close where I started. I ask today that we remember those 6 fallen that came home. They represent the best of our nation. For those families that are feeling the pain, know that we are with you and will remain with you. May we always prove worthy of their sacrifice. And I'll turn it back over to you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Take a couple questions.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Given the updated degradation in strike target numbers you laid out, how close would you say we are towards achieving the President's objectives, and what is the end game of the operation without divulging any sensitive battle plans?
Well, we wouldn't want to set a definitive time frame on that, but as we've said, we're on plan. So we're looking at those metrics very closely, relaying that to the President and the National Security Team, but feel confident that as, again, we're more stand-in means we're over the top, even further in, and we have even more of an exact sense of what we're striking and why, and even more dynamically, meaning because the intelligence improves, we're able to more quickly identify targets when they, let's say they come out of an underground facility where they've been hiding and able to strike it before it strikes or right after it shoots. But we're very much on plan, and that's why I want to speak to the American people here. You hear a lot of noise about widening or new missions or speculation about what we should or should not be doing. This is a clear set of objectives. The president has given us every capability we need to accomplish that. We've got the best in the world in uniform executing it on the ground. They believe in and are invested in this mission, and it will be at the president's choosing, ultimately, where we say, hey, we've achieved what we need to on behalf of the American people to ensure our security. So no time set on that, but we're very much on track. Absolutely. Yes, right here.
Good morning, Mr. Secretary. David Zier, Real America's Voice News. What countries have been the most cooperative with us, including the Gulf states, as Europe hedges? And I also wanted to ask you, the internet blackouts by the regime. It's been shut down for weeks. Is the U.S. military playing a role in, fighting against the regime, blocking VPN networks and satellites and other things? Is there a role for the U.S. military there?
Obviously, on the allies and partners side, Israel from day one has been an incredible and capable partner, willing and able. There's nothing like capabilities and partners that are able to use them. The Gulf states have stepped up incredibly. In fact, Iran's sort of reckless attempt to strike civilian infrastructure and other things has brought countries who maybe would have not been as all in as they are today squarely into our orbit. And we're proud to be defending with them, standing with them, you name it. UAE, Qatar, Bahrain, Kuwait, Saudi Arabia, and others who have been right there. And we're grateful for that kind of support. As far as the internet, we're watching the regime try to tighten its grip as much as possible. And we're obviously taking countermeasures, many of which we can't talk about here, to ensure that messaging is delivered, not just to the Iranian people writ large, but to the right audiences, certain audiences that need to hear certain things about what their fate might look like or what their choices are. So even though that regime is trying really hard to ensure the world can't see, right? They want to put out fake AI-generated images, which, by the way, sometimes our press happens to fall for, like the Abraham Lincoln on fire and turning around. These AI-generated images are meant to make it look like something's happening when the exact opposite is. So they make up fake reports and fake images to lie to their own people to try to make it. But even then, their own people can barely receive a lot of those messages and communicate because of the blackout that they've imposed upon them. But we work around that for sure.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. General, overnight, Iran launched missiles across the Gulf. They managed to hit the Saudi oil refinery on the Red Sea. What does it mean that they have that capability now, 3 weeks into the war? And, Mr. Secretary, you mentioned civilian infrastructure. Iran seems to be treating U.S. diplomatic outposts, embassies, consulates like they are legitimate hard targets in the region now. What is the Pentagon doing to, I guess, secure those assets, stop those attacks?
Absolutely.
Thanks for the question on the missile strikes. You know, as we said and have always said clearly, they came into this fight with a lot of weapons. This is why we continue to be as aggressive and assertive as we can against their ballistic missile capability, both their medium-range ballistic missile capability and their short-range missile capability. So we are continuing to hunt and find them and kill them, and we will continue to do so. So they still retain some capability. And we have layered defenses throughout the region that will allow us to protect those. And we're working with our partners across the Gulf region to help them improve any defensive capabilities that they may need.
To that point on capabilities, you know, Iran is an energy-rich country, could be, should be. Instead, like so many other places driven by a radical ideology, they've spent that money instead of investing in their people. And that's why you had millions of Iranians protesting. It's because they felt like their quality of life didn't match what it could be or should be. And what was the Iranian state? There's a reason we call Iran the #1 state sponsor of terrorism, because they took the money they make and they invest it in tunnels, and they invested in missiles, and they invested in launchers and UAVs, and we are destroying and degrading that in historic proportions. But it doesn't mean they won't still have some and try to hold people at issue, which is why we're fighting every single day to continue to compel. And you mentioned embassies and consulates. Unlike previous administrations, we are doubling and tripling down on ensuring that our people, regardless of their Department of War, Department of State, whatever they do, are secure in those facilities. And the best defense is a good offense. And so we're not afraid to go after and kill anybody, and we have a lot of them. attempting to target our diplomatic facilities. Iran, you know, we're not surprised that they would indiscriminately target, and we're still seeing that. Jerry.
As part of the justification for the war against Iran, the White House has laid out in fairly comprehensive fashion that the Iranian regime's 47 years of terrorism aimed at the U.S., including pointing to the IRGC's provision of weapons and EFPs to help kill Americans in Iraq. The Pentagon in 2019 assessed Iran was responsible for the deaths of at least 603 service members in Iraq, but there hasn't been a similar accounting, public accounting by Iran's role helping the Taliban in Afghanistan. And that also hasn't been part of the White House's public argument. I was wondering if you could speak to Iran's role in helping the Taliban during the war in Afghanistan. And Chairman, as you and the Secretary eloquently spoke about, 13 U.S. service members have been killed so far during Operation Epic Fury. I was wondering what lessons have been learned from those deaths, both from Iranian strikes, from an aircraft refueling accident. How are those lessons being applied to the current conflict, and how are those lessons going to be applied to a potential conflict in Indo-PACOM?
Thank you.
Well, thank you for the question. And it's true. In a town that can have a very short memory, President Trump does not. He remembers what this regime, Iranian regime, was founded on, what their declaration has been from the beginning: death to America, death to Israel. They've stated that. They've intended to, in every way, try to accomplish that, killing Americans in any theater they can, embassies for quite a long time. In Iraq, that was the deadliest weapon, was the EFP, the explosively formed penetrator. I was there when that tactic and technique started to emerge, and the realization was it wasn't just jihadis putting together 155 rounds daisy-chained. It was an entire state, a country with its apparatus able to mold steel in a way that was specifically designed to penetrate American armor and kill Americans. This was not, maybe we send them a couple of thoughts about how to build a bomb. This was Iran specifically passing technology and wherewithal and personnel into Iraq to kill Americans specifically. I know the number is said to be 600. A lot of us think it's higher than that, given the amount of capability they brought in. So they have been at war with us, whether we acknowledge it or not, for 47 years. The same goes in Afghanistan. Name the Islamist enemy, whether they are Sunni or Shia, because this is a Shia regime, Sunni or Shia, and Iran's been willing to harbor them as long as that group is willing to try to kill Americans. So the enemy of their enemy has been their friend as well in the Islamist world. So Iran, whether it's Iraq, whether it's Afghanistan, whether it's around the world, has been targeting Americans. And what they wanted in this context, and what President Trump would not tolerate, is a regime of that nature being closer and closer to nuclear capabilities, a capability they would have said they would want to use, and we ought to believe what our enemies say they would do if they got the most dangerous weapon in the world. So it's been across every theater that Iran's been a threat to America, and sometimes we have to remind folks of that, but thank goodness we have a commander-in-chief who, on behalf of this country, has internalized that and said, hey, we're going to do something about it.
Jerry, I do want to talk about the lessons learned question because it's important to me. I won't share particular tactical lessons, and the KC-135 incident is under investigation. But I do want to talk about how I think about this and how we think about it. And this is something that I'm pretty passionate about. I believe the Joint Force has to be a very fast learning organization. Early, often, and always. And so in each case, both at the strategic, operational, and tactical level, we've charged the Joint Force to look at themselves and say, what was our plan? Well, first, did we have a plan, yes or no? The answer is always yes, because we plan for literally everything. Did we execute our plan, yes or no? If we did it work? If not, why not? If we didn't execute our plan but did something better, what's the lesson learned associated with that? And then how do we quickly capture those lessons after every loss or every engagement and quickly adopt those lessons and then share them across the entirety of the Joint Force? And inside the Joint Staff, we've tasked our J7 Directorate under the lead of Lieutenant General Lazewski, a United States Marine, to be extremely entrepreneurial in harvesting adapting and capturing those lessons in a proactive and not reactive way. In fact, we've got teammates from the J7 who are now spread out across the CENTCOM theater, both here in the States and forward, to ensure that in every opportunity we do not miss a chance to grab that lesson and quickly accelerate it into the practice that we adopt inside the joint force, so that if there's a loss or if there's something that we can learn from, that we learn it not only in the CENTCOM AOR, but we adapt it across all of the combatant commands, not just Indo-PACOM. And it's across all of the warfighting functions. I've asked them to look rigorously, to check our egos at the door, to remember this is about what's right, not who's right, and to be clinical around the way we look at lessons learned, because we owe it to the force to do that. Thanks for that question.
Absolutely. Brown jacket at the back.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. Jonathan Dre with Roca Politics. As you said, at the end of this war, Iran will be without a missile or drone capability, a navy, or the ability to make nuclear weapons. Since the largest threat and sponsor of terror in the region will be incapacitated, are there plans to move assets and troops out of the Middle East? I guess in a perfect world, a year after the war has ended, what does the military presence in the Middle East look like compared to before the war?
Well, I appreciate the question. I do think when you address a real threat head on, it creates new options on the other side. Right? I think what President Trump refuses to do, which too often this town does, is just sit in the status quo. Oh, nobody can do about that. They've got too much capability. What if this happens? What if that happens? He instead says, what's in the interest of the American people? It's going to take some courage. It's going to take some capabilities. We're going to have to gather some forces there in order to do it. We're not going to tell people how many or how long or what we're willing to do or what we're not willing to do. But if you do that and do that decisively, then out the other end is a recognition that it opens the aperture of what's possible. I mean, President Trump did the same thing in creating an opportunity for the Abraham Accords. Now you've got a situation where a lot of those countries are coming alongside us, recognizing the threat of Iran. So I think our posture in the future will be based first and foremost on our own national security, power projection, the ability to defend our people and our interests. But no doubt, working alongside our partners, the president will look at what makes the most sense going forward. I appreciate that question. Yes, right here.
War crime, is that the policy of the U.S. military now?
Thank you, Secretary Hegseth. Two questions for you. The Vice President has often emphasized that the goal of this war is to denuclearize Iran while also avoiding a larger quagmire. I know that you touched on this. I'd like you to expand on how do you do that? How do you denuclearize the country while also avoiding this, forever war? And then there was a report last night that the Pentagon asked the White House for $200 billion for Iran war supplemental. Can you confirm this, and can you explain why a package this large is necessary?
Well, first of all, none of this would have been possible without Midnight Hammer, without that audacious mission with very clear goals that did obliterate their ability to enrich and the capabilities they have in those facilities. So it created the conditions for Iran to step forward and say, okay, you can reach out and touch us like that in our nuclear ambitions. You can see that we're still trying to do this. Let's make a deal. And the President Trump put our two best folks on it, Steve and Jared, and they worked diligently, earnestly. I watched it to try to pursue that deal. And ultimately, I think the whole time Iran sort of said, well, we'll talk as we build more missiles and as we build more UAVs and we create this conventional umbrella so that if we chose to, we could try to reconstitute the program. And sort of naively thinking that President Trump wouldn't do something about it. And that's why, as Secretary Rubio has said, and I've said, it's the conventional umbrella that was growing and growing and growing that was meant to protect that nuclear capability. So you had to address both what happened with Midnight Hammer and what happened with that as well. As far as $200 billion, I think that number could move, obviously. It takes money to kill bad guys. So we're going back to Congress and our folks there to ensure that we're properly funded for what's been done, for what we may have to do in the future, ensure that our ammunition everything's refilled, and not just refilled, but above and beyond. I mean, President Trump, as he said, rebuilt the military in his first term, didn't think he'd use it as dynamically in his second, but he had. So thank goodness he did that. And an investment like this is meant to say, hey, we'll replace anything that was spent. And now that we're reviving our defense industrial base and rebuilding the arsenal of freedom and cutting deals like our great deputy secretaries here is doing, long lead times on exquisite munitions, we're going to be refilled faster than anyone imagined. And I think, we're also still dealing with the environment that Joe Biden created, which was depleting those stockholds and not sending them to our own military, but to Ukraine, which is every time we reach back and look at any sort of a challenge we have, it goes back to, well, send it to Ukraine. Ultimately, we think this should be these munitions are better spent in our own interests at this point, and this kind of funding bill is going to ensure that we're properly funded going forward. We'll take one more right here.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Jordan Conradson with the Gateway Pundit. So with the strike yesterday on South Pars gas field, if the U.S. didn't know about it or didn't approve of it, it kind of seems like a trend of Israel apparently pursuing their own objectives over U.S. objectives. I'm not sure if you agree with that, but the president has said he doesn't want to hit Iran's oil infrastructure right now. As you said, the U.S. avoided this on Park Island. Oil's nearing $120. Why are we helping Israel prosecute this war if they're going to pursue their own objectives?
We hold the cards. We have objectives. Those objectives are clear. We have allies pursuing objectives as well. And the truth speaks for itself. I mean, President Trump was very clear about that. Iran has weaponized energy for decades. Israel clearly sent a warning, and POTUS has made it clear, very clear. Iran knows when you hit Karg Island and you hit military capabilities on Karg Island, which is the only thing we hit, we can hold anything at issue, anything. The United States military controls the fate of that country. Iran has the ability to make the right choices. It should not, going forward, target Arab allies, Arab countries, trying to create pain, the pain that they created themselves. Thank you all very much. Appreciate it. Thank you for your time. Appreciate it.
All right. So earlier, and I didn't want to interrupt because the flow of how he was talking and explaining stuff, and it's sometimes can get very technical, and I didn't want to interrupt. But going back to what I said earlier, and thank you if you're still here 3 hours later, I appreciate it. But I wanted you to hear that. And the last question, or the guy was saying, Israel is, why are we doing this to help Israel and everything else? And I think something became very clear last night that a lot of people, even in the media, didn't get. President Trump posted this. Israel, out of anger for what has taken place in the Middle East, has violently lashed out at a major facility known as South Pars gas field in Iran. A relatively small section of the whole has been hit. The United States knew nothing about this particular attack, and the country of Qatar was in no way, shape, or form involved with it, nor did they have any idea that it was going to happen. Unfortunately, Iran did not know this or any of the pertinent facts pertaining to the South Pars attack, and unjustifiably and unfairly attacked a portion of Qatar's liquid natural gas facility. No more, in big words, no more attacks will be made by Israel pertaining to this extremely important and valuable South Pars field unless Iran unwisely decides to attack a very innocent, in this case, Qatar, in which instance the United States of America, with or without the help of or consent of Israel, will massively blow up the entirety of the South Pars gas field at an amount of strength and power that Iran has never ever seen or witnessed before. I do not want to authorize this level of violence and destruction because of the long-term implications that it will have on the future of Iran, but if Qatar's LNG is again attacked, I will not hesitate to do so. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Coupled with what you heard Pete Hegseth say, that this is going to be, once again, the biggest day of bombing in Iran. And President Trump has just said that the South Pars gas field is fine unless Iran decides to attack Qatar. And if you do that, we're going to blow this to smithereens. And so some people looked at that and said, President Trump is losing control of the war. Israel is doing what they want. A prudent person looks at that and says, Israel, you got greedy, and Daddy said, stop it. See, it's not about being submissive to Israel. It's not doing this because of Israel. It's doing this because he is controlling the area. And that tells you right there. Right, I think at 2:30, Netanyahu is supposed to do a press conference, and if Israel was controlling the United States at that press conference at 2:30, Netanyahu would say, "We'll do what we want." But I won't be here at 2:30. You guys can find it somewhere. But I guarantee you, well, I shouldn't say it because I could look stupid. I'd almost guarantee you Netanyahu is not going to do that. You see, if he is controlling Trump, like all the haters say, then he would say, screw Trump. If I feel like blowing something up, I'll blow it up. You're not going to hear that. You're going to hear probably something contrite where he says something like, whatever. I don't know if he'll admit to make a mistake, but, it was under my impression, or I thought, whatever. Now it's on Iran. If Iran launches more attacks to some of these Middle Eastern areas, they're going to get blown to smithereens. Now, here's a look through what Scott Bessent said. It's already going to happen. It's a foregone conclusion. We are going to take control of the Strait of Hormuz. So if you start putting all these different things, this Picasso-looking picture together so that it becomes more in focus, you're going to see what the end goal here is, to just basically go in, like I told you, a week and a half ago about Karg Island, before anybody was, what the hell is Karg Island? Oh, Barry told us this, we're going to take it. People are going to scream. There might be boots on the ground. I don't know whose boots are going to be on the ground, but Scott Bessent pretty much just said earlier, that's ours. We're taking it. It is strategic in nature. And I think everything thus far has been set up to put us in position to take Karg Island and the Strait of Hormuz. That will be the end of the war. Yes, there will still be some flare-ups. There will still be some lone wolves that are, launching stuff into the Gulfs, and things are going to blow up and people are going to die. But the war as a war is pretty much going to be over. Move to the next level, where General Raising Cane was talking about it. I didn't know this. So I've been schooled in the last 24 hours about the Warthog, what that plane can do. And I'm like, why do people keep typing BRRRTTTT? Because I saw the video, and it's the sound the Warthog makes when it's strafing. It's pretty scary. And they usually don't bring that plane out until they realize they have complete superiority in the sky, because it's meant to come down at a lower level and just strafe everything in sight. So why would you need to strafe everything in sight? Well, it's to take over the Strait of Hormuz. So we're nearing the end. If you look like this with your binoculars, you can see the end not too far away. You can see the other countries saying, okay, we'll come in and we'll help, secure the Strait of Hormuz. Do your job, clean up on aisle 3. And then I'm seeing letters going out from different countries saying, yeah, we're coming. And here's the good thing about that. Even if they don't get there in a hurry, whoever's still alive in Iran is seeing this. Whoever it is that is now assumed control for the not so supreme leader is seeing all these other countries starting to come in. They're seeing that the UAE and some of these Arabian, those countries over there, UAE, Dubai, that they may be bringing ground troops in. Why would all of a sudden all of this start to happen? Well, probably because they've been given some sort of, a degree of safety. You're going to be okay. You might hit a mine here or there, but for the most part, they don't have anything left to shoot. And they don't have any ability to build anything to shoot. And they don't have anybody to shoot it. Oh. There's some people there who still got buttons, but they better be quite judicious with those buttons, because they don't have any way to refill. Whoever planned this out with President Trump, if it was Raising Cane, whether it was Pete Hegseth, whether it was a conglomerate of people, they knew exactly what they were doing, and they also know where the next stage of the plan is going. You need to just sit back, forget these idiots on X, forget them, whatever agenda they have no idea. Listen to the people who are articulating it. Listen to the people as they tell you what their plans are. That's how you're going to learn. All right, so just to let you know, I will be back tonight for round 2 of our Japanese interlude. Tonight at 7 p.m. Oh, where'd I go? Hold on. Wait 1 second. I got blipped away. Wait. My camera kind of like blitzed out on me. Anyway, tonight at 7 p.m., they're having the Japanese state dinner with, again, the Prime Minister of Japan. I'd be saying her name, but I would say it wrong. That's why I don't say her name. So it's 7:15, 7, however Trump time they go. So we'll probably go on air at 7. And I've got some news for you. Got some video to show you, some posts to show you some news. And then when all that's done, he'll come on and he'll do a speech tonight as well. I'm pretty sure it might be a black tie type of event, but we'll cover that tonight. So let's plan on getting together at 7 p.m. You got 5 hours to chill, watch some Netflix. I'm going to go to lunch, probably take a nap. I'm all set with content for tonight. All right. So before my my camera decides to take another blitz, let me, what happened here? Where did that go? 1 second. Oh, okay, here we go. And let me move this over. Oh, my camera's not working. All right, so the camera isn't going to work for me the way I like to. Hold on, because I got to do super chats. And every time my camera bleeps out, that's when I actually start having different problems. So 1 second, I'm going to have to, hopefully, I can get through this and not have to restart or anything. Well, if I had to restart, we'd be screwed. So 1 second as I do some shifting here on the back end, because once that camera does what it does, then okay, yeah, now we're good. Hold on 1 second. I'm going to have to put this like, let me see how I can make this work, because I want to acknowledge super chats. Give me the ability to acknowledge the super chats. I know you guys are like, what in the hell is Barry talking about? Barry's trying to figure this stuff out on the fly, which is often kind of hard. Hold on, let me see if I can do it this way. If I can't, I'll have to just read them as we speak. And hold on. Yeah, that'll work. All right, so I might have to do some juxtaposing here. Yeah, there we go. Wait 1 second. Yeah, there we go. Great. I was able to get it done. So I can read these. The real KRO, the swear jar. I did not swear today. I didn't even say the S word. I definitely don't say the F word, but I didn't even swear today. Macon Blankenship, happy birthday, Beth, and thank you, Barry, for all you do to keep us advised through your digital news network. Y'all tell two kids have a great day. Thank you very much, and yes, it is Beth's birthday. Happy birthday, Beth. Nikki, Japanese only use first names as a close friends or relatives, then not calling him by his last name is showing just how much he means to them. Yes, she called him Dalud a couple times. Rita, thank you. North Minnesota mom. I don't believe she appreciates his joke. Oh, you're talking about, I'm sure the media will be talking about it, the Pearl Harbor joke. Like, y'all didn't give us no notice about Pearl Harbor. And yeah, that's probably what she was talking about. B Mark, my question is, Barry, if we, the USA, do not get all of our oil from that war region, then why is our oil prices gone up? Exactly. That's what I was trying to explain to you about the manipulation in the market, and that the deep state is doing everything from impacting taxes and putting those on certain areas. It's really bad what they're doing at this point, but we don't get our oil from over there, so there's no reason except for panic and trying to build in profit for the future. You're an oil company, and Chevron or Shell, although you're selling to America, you are now going to be impacted selling someplace else probably in a month or so. And so you're trying to make us pay for it. It's bad. Cheers up. Beat Iran, keep the oil, control the market. No more OPEC controlling prices. We call the pricing. Otherwise, they can pedal bikes to generate power. Yeah, you want to get rid of oil? Go for it. Cheers up again. No wars over windmills or solar. That's true. That is a great statement. You don't see anybody fighting because of windmills, but they're going to go to war over oil. It's all been a crock. We've been lied to. Make it like just don't forget the water pressure. Maybe in California. Yeah. Captain Danny, without oil, modern humanity will cease to exist. You're seeing that right now. Like I said, President Trump has completely exposed the anti-oil crowd forever. The entire world right now is looking at this tiny Strait of Hormuz going, oh my gosh, we got to get the oil. No, you don't. You can go to windmills and solar panels right now. No, it ain't going to happen. Cheers up. I hope UN brought the Diddy oil. They're going to need it. Yeah, the UN's begging for money. Mary Kellums, Barry, did you see that a drone was spotted over the base where Pete Hegseth and Marco Rubio are living? Glenn Beck reported. Yes, I did see. I got an owie where Lily scratched me. I did see about they had, over the base a drone. They're going to probably find out that was just some idiot person flying it over who's going to go to jail for a while. I don't think it was nefarious, because if it was nefarious, you wouldn't have been seeing it. It would have already taken its action. James Hammond, California, is talking about having no oil. Crazy. Raven Kirkendall, did Charlie Kirk really text you that? From the airbase on Carrick, A-10 can patrol the strait. Yeah, it can. Yeah, it can. And it can make lots of people lots of uncomfortable. And that is for sure. All right. So I think I got everything. Oh, wait a second. Wait a minute. Yeah, that's the right one. All right. We're good. In any event, I will see you guys. If I missed anybody, it's only because my camera went down, and I got to make sure. Let me just make sure that I caught everybody in here. I hate clicking off if I miss somebody. Nope, I'm good. All right, so I'll see you guys tonight at 7 p.m.